we don't say it for, like, we don't say.
I mean, like, technically you could turn this argument on its head and still use it against the SoyPill. Because it's like, okay, fine. Okay, you know what? Actually, just concede everything and say, okay, well, you're right on that, SoyPill. Maybe Zionist is a very, very, very broad thing. But if that's the case, then why should anybody ever call themselves anti-Zionist? Isn't that really weird then? If even by your own argumentative standards, you're saying that Zionism is an incredibly broad thing that can encompass a lot of different ideas, then why would you ever call yourself, like, anti-Zionist?
No. Okay. That's scary. I didn't think of that.
I want you to tell people who you are, what you do, and what are your thoughts on the subject at hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm social society because I'm a social democrat and I want a strong social welfare state in society, not because of a dog whistle. And I talk about politics on YouTube every day. I do 3 or 4 videos. I talk mostly about MAGA, domestic politics. I saw this kind of stuff, wanted to get into space, so I appreciate Wick giving me the opportunity. My position on this is I definitely think anti-Semitism is a problem. I definitely think it exists on the left. I'm not too familiar with streamers to have like a hard opinion, though I'm happy to go through the various ones and see what we think. But I wouldn't push back on anything like that. My main thing is I do think some of the critiques of people who critique AIPAC as anti-Semitism can be overblown, which I think kind of like hurts or can even like enable people who want to subvert that and do anti-Semitism with like AIPAC and stuff by critiquing those who are doing it genuinely. So that's kind of my position, and we can get into all of it.
I'm excited to have you. SoyPill, are you ready?
Unfortunately, I mean, I'm ready, but I don't know what the hell's going on with my stuff. I can say my piece, but I'm just trying to find out how to go live and actually show Discord.
You know what? I'm going to let you go last so you can focus on
Yes,
that.
please. Thank you.
Yeah. Lonerbox, what's your thoughts?
I'm the kind of person who doesn't really like organized religion. I don't really like Islam, for example. But I also understand that it's very easy to, and I've never really had any problems with being against the religion of Islam, or even recognizing trends across the Muslim world that are problematic, whilst not being an Islamophobe. It seems to be very easy to do this. Up until about 5 minutes ago, I kind of thought progressives understood this as well, that there is a difference between criticizing something, maybe even incorrectly criticizing something, maybe even being a little bit too excessive when you criticize something. There's a difference between that and going into a territory of scapegoating, of a total disproportionality, of becoming so hateful of a particular group or a connected group or a subgroup of a group that you become obsessed with them, or that you start to adopt this very vitriolic level of hatred towards them, and you hold them to a double standard. And I think every left-winger or progressive understands this kind of pattern and knows which red flags to look for when it comes to every form of bigotry. They seem to struggle, for whatever reason, with anti-Semitism. Thankfully, I come from a country where we have something called journalism and liberals and real media, where this kind of phenomenon did appear quite badly in the Labour Party under Corbyn, and it was held to account, it was challenged, it was aired out in the media, there were independent investigations into it, and now people of that ilk are just rotting away in the Green Party, so where they belong. So yeah, I think we can hopefully treat anti-Semitism the way we treat all other kinds of bigotry, because progressives are usually quite good at that. We'll see.
We'll see. We're getting a little technical difficulties, but we'll get there. Hopefully SoyPill can get with the program here. But first, we're going to give it to Kraut, my friend Kraut. Give us who you are and what your thoughts are. Go ahead.
I make YouTube videos. I recently started streaming, and I came here with the description that you gave me of what was being discussed. I didn't look at all into anything AIPAC related. I don't know anything about that. I'm not really well educated about that. What I do know a lot about, because I studied it, was anti-Semitism in communist regimes. And in preparation for this stream, I looked into anti-Semitism in the 19th century.
Communists would never be
movements of France, which is often described, at least in the historical texts that I read, as the origin of leftist anti-Semitism. So maybe that is something useful that can contribute to this conversation.
Well, we're happy to have you, and I guess we'll see. Maybe I should have clarified. We're talking more about modern day left, right? So the current left. But I guess we'll.
Well, one can find old ideas frequently dug up and reused over and over again, and some things sometimes don't really seem to ever really change that much.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to get into it. And then last, there was SoyPill. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, I can't get it working, so I'm just. I guess everyone who wants to see me, go to the Wick channel, subscribe to Wick, and watch Wick on Wick's channel. Basically, my frustration with a lot of this discussion in recent years has been there are a lot of valid criticisms of Israel and anti-Semitism, and there are a lot of invalid ones, and you're getting a lot of anti-Semites nipping at the opportunity to spread anti-Semitism, but also a lot of dismissive comments from people who would otherwise be supportive of things I think are important, because the critics of AIPAC, critics of Israel, get to dismiss that as anti-Semitic, and I think that's bullshit. And I guess I'm trying to come into this discussion and talk about how you can have criticisms of valid criticisms of any Jewish project or Israel without being anti-Semitic.
I guess we're going to talk about it. We're going to find out. So Lonerbox, let's start with you. Can you give us what's your, I guess, clearest example in this space of someone being critical of Israel or critical of AIPAC or critical of that project or Judaism even in a way that you find to be problematic or anti-Semitic, right? What's the clearest example you have?
Like of an individual or a group of them?
Either one, pick.
I don't know, Cenk, Anna, Dan Bilzerian, that Sean King guy, Hassan Piker, Kyle Kulinski.
Can you give us an
Whoa!
example of some things that they've said that you find anti-Semitic?
What?
Yeah, Kyle is completely okay with people who believe in Zog. He literally just describes AIPAC as foreign money, which it's clearly not. He seems to be one of many people right now where this is like probably the only single issue PAC group that he seems to care about when it comes to donating to elections or into primaries. He seems to ascribe so much more power to these groups than they actually have. And when it comes to Israel, he's just like one of the first people to just believe every kind of like fantastical story about them, and he's willing to simp and completely launder the reputations and the ideologies of groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas who fight with Israel. So I think if you hate a group that much that you're willing to, or a subset of a group that much that you're willing to give so many passes that you would never give if a right winger was doing any of it, then you seem to have some kind of bigotry going on there.
Fair enough. Any responses to that, either from Social Society or SoyPill?
Social, why don't you go ahead? I just fixed it. I'm about to go live. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, with Cenk and Anna, I'm more familiar with them. Definitely agree. I think that they lost the plot a long time ago, if not always, never had the plot. I don't know if they were ever sane. With Kyle, I don't know him as much. What you described, I definitely would detail as playing into anti-Semitic tropes. I would only hedge, I guess, there because like I've never seen his content. I don't know much about him. But I think even more so than kind of what you were saying about giving a hand, or if you hate a group so much, I think it even kind of what you said sounds like it's directly playing into what I would call anti-Semitic tropes, like this caricature of like somebody standing above us and then minimizing all Jewish people to this caricature. And then, you know, like AIPAC and how they influence the elections and they have all this control when it's not really.
Not sure if it's available, but you should watch via Loner stream so you don't have to deal with a shitty audio through Discord. Do you think, wait, why is this audio through Discord bad?
The case.
Is there ever a time, well, how to say this? If you do think that AIPAC has outsized influence in American politics, right? If you do think that it's funding politicians for a cause that you do not support, is there a way to criticize it without being anti-Semitic?
Yes, J Street does it. J Street poses itself as like a Jewish alternative to AIPAC, where they actually are more mindful of like Palestinian suffering and they support two states and things like that. I don't think anyone calls them anti-Semitic. Maybe some AIPAC people do, but yeah, like, we know that they're spending a lot of money right now, especially in Democrat primaries. That they're putting money through the United Democracy Project to do so, record amounts of money. But I guess the interesting thing about it is that is not also everyone noticing that they're failing, that they're losing money, they're losing these races even if they're spending record amounts, as they just did with Stevens against Al-Sayed. And I think when you track their success rate as well, it doesn't actually seem like their success rate is all that different from other single.
This guy seems like a nice enough dude, but he contributes virtually nothing in conversation. Wait, which one are you talking about? Lonerbox or Wick?
Issue groups like the NRA or Planned Parenthood, which actually reflects even worse on AIPAC because they spend more money on campaigns, like far
Bob Marley. Really, bro? Really?
more money on campaigns individually than these other orgs do. So they spend more money to get a roughly similar success rate or even like a slightly lower one. But for some reason, they have just become like the face of all billionaire corporate evil money. Like it just becomes AIPAC right now rather than PACs in general, or I guess it used to be the billionaire class, but now I feel like AIPAC is just a much more convenient. Again, it's a scapegoat for all of it.
Now that you're back,
I would like to add that like Cenk and Anna, the thing that sort of really grinds my gears about them is that they're so opportunistic. I, to an extent, don't necessarily believe that either of them are genuinely anti-Semites, but they're willing to, at the very least, use anti-Semitism and weaponize it for their own purposes to grow their audience. If you remember when Alex Jones got chased off YouTube, that is when Cenk began espousing some of the most demented conspiracy theories about 9/11 and whatnot. I think those two in particular are just people who they see an audience gap and they want to take it, and then recognized that there's a lot more anti-Semitism on social media and decide, oh yeah, we're going to jump onto that. We're going to try to grift an audience out of that. That is how I see these two. They're taking something, they're seeing the popularity of anti-Semitism and decided, yeah, we're going to jump on that.
Damn.
No, that makes sense. SoyPill, now that you're back, do you want to hop in on the discussion, or now that
Yeah, I mean, I'm sympathetic to the idea that people are putting way more focus on, let's say, AIPAC. Like AIPAC is not one of the top lobbying groups. They are one of the top like electoral spenders, especially in primaries. And I am sympathetic to the fact like, well, why are we focusing on AIPAC so much? And people saying, well, oh, maybe it's because of anti-Semitism. But I think when you look at things that are more pervasive and long-standing in politics, like the NRA, like oil lobbying, like this is common, and this is like the new hot button issue is, hey, this group that is lobbying against incumbents, against Democrats, that is almost apolitical in a sense because they're primarily just whichever group is going to be more amicable to Israel. And then you've got the October 7th post stuff and all the genocide. I think it isn't crazy that it's being hyper-focused on, that a lot of this is like, hey, I don't like corporate spending, and this just happens to be one of the biggest spenders in these primaries, in elections, and it's happening against Democrats. It's coming from like a very small group of people, so it's like a lot less grassroots. Like, yeah, I would say it is very much I don't know, like the punching bag for of money in politics. But I'm not quite sure, like, oh, well, they're not succeeding, so that's good. I mean, first of all, that's a more recent thing. They are realizing that Israel, is actually going to be a more hot button issue, and they can't even label themselves as AIPAC spending anymore. They do the United Defense Project and try to just put attack ads against people they don't like, and it doesn't have anything to do with Israel. It's just, hey, look, this candidate's bad. It's not necessarily being framed as an Israel issue or a Jewish issue. I don't know if that success rate is really indicative of like whether or not it's a good or
You
bad.
see Cherry's post? I'm not commenting on anything Cherry related until my court case everything is done. Okay, I don't need I saw her posts. I wish her the best. I don't know what exactly thinks she wants to talk about, but I don't have any connection or communication with her. I think she's tried to reach out to me. I have not said anything to her, told her to say anything or anything like that. So it's her thing.
It isn't necessarily also just AIPAC that is used as the punching bag here. I mean, when we look at how it is framed on social media, you all are probably familiar with Track AIPAC, who just makes shit up about who takes money from AIPAC. You're probably also familiar with like the constant, it's like this weird soup that people post about. It's Zog, Epstein, AIPAC, everything mixed together. It's never just directly AIPAC. It's never just that one group. It's like always this like amalgamation of shit thrown together and then thrown as a supposed reason. And the only thing that this shit soup has in common is that they always try to pin Jews into it. It's always Jewish. What's
interesting as well is like the fact that I don't know if you guys know this, but with AIPAC, I think through United Democracy Project, which is their super PAC, they pushed something like $24 to $25 million into Stevens' campaign. But because she received quite a bit of money from other sources as well, people just added all of it together and just said like this entire sum total is all AIPAC money. Like, so that's why 30 million AIPAC money suddenly became 60, right? And the numbers just...
Okay. Yeah, I always thought that was bullshit because the numbers change so much and so often. I was like, I don't trust any of this bullshit.
Kept on going up from, I think even Al Sayed kept saying it was like 45 plus million, which again, I don't know why he felt so compelled to add another 15 million to why he decided to give it a 50% increase. But
on that note, one of the things that Elsa, and this is, I guess, a start to our game, is this anti-Semitic? And I got some tweets that we can look up. One of the things that El Sayed said during the primary, a Tavern research poll came out, and this was a few weeks before the primary, before all the plus 20, plus 14 polls were coming out. It had him down by, I think, 1 or 2. When he was asked about it, he said it was an AIPAC-funded poll, right? And he dismissed it on those grounds. AIPAC had nothing to do with that poll. Is
not good.
Blaming negative polls on AIPAC when AIPAC had nothing to do with it, can that be a form of anti-Semitism?
Yeah, it can be, but it also isn't necessarily. I mean, like the problem, unfortunately, with a lot of these things is if you talk candidly about what is actually happening, it does sometimes play into anti-Semitic tropes. I mean, the tropes of...
I've been on the internet for so long, I fully reject this form of reasoning. If people think you are bigoted and you're not, then you're fucking your communication up somewhere. That's on you to figure out. Now, I'll be charitable and say that if people are watching clips of you or other people's representations of you, then maybe you're not as responsible for that because you can't control how somebody else will clip you or show you everything. But if somebody watches your content or like a sizable chunk of your content and comes away thinking like, I don't know, man, this guy seems kind of bigoted, that's on you. And it shouldn't be that hard to figure out how to not to come off that way.
Jews use financial systems to control things, or like it's a small group of people doing, manipulating politicians. And like if you have AIPAC dumping lots of money as a Jewish organization to try to influence politicians, which is, that's objectively true. There are ways that you can lump that into some crazy anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But you could just say, hey, I've been thinking that AIPAC has been doing a lot of bad things, and I think AIPAC did this bad thing. And that's not necessarily anti-Semitic, but it's very hard to distinguish between these two things because anti-Semites will say it, and then non-anti-Semites will say it. It blurs the line a little bit there.
Well, question. Let's say it was a Republican candidate who is of the kind of like more populist Vance territory. He's being told that there's a poll that shows his opponent 1 point up in the polls, and he says, with no evidence, that sounds like a Soros poll. Is your instinct to just say, oh, we don't know, that might be anti-Semitic?
Yeah, because I think Soros is a big man among
okay.
This is also, I think, one of the ways you can tell that these guys are like kind of in a goofy position is the bullet biting that some of these guys are doing on some of these things is wild. They just bite the craziest bullets to make these arguments work. And it's like, really? Okay, I guess.
Okay, maybe.
Soros is a boogeyman among MAGA, and while Soros is absolutely played upon by the anti-Semitic pundits like the Tucker Carlsons and these people, it's also like you go and you talk to these MAGA people and they think Soros is this like big evil Democrat billionaire, and like I don't even know if that many people know he's Jewish. So it depends. My first instinct would be that it is anti-Semitic because that's just typically what you would see from these groups, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is.
Even though we do know that Soros funds liberal causes and things like that, right? But just to be clear though, I'm just going to say it if no one else will. Like if a right winger did that, if they said that about a poll that had them 1 point down,
they would cut someone off. I'm gonna leave and try to join back because I can't even hear you guys if you're talking.
I'm sorry. Okay. I was going to say if that had happened with a right winger who's like of the kind of Vance Tucker Carlson wing, and they saw a poll they didn't like, and where they baselessly said that sounds like a Soros poll, no one on the left would give any charitability to that. They would just say that's like a total dog whistle through and through. I'm just curious why the ifs and the buts come for Al Sayed.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a place for more blood sports debates these days? Not to be self-aggrandizing, but if I don't get unbanned from Twitch, probably not. Because in order for these types of things to become popular and to work, I think you need like some big streamers to kind of play into it to be willing to go there. And Bosch won't, and Hassan won't. And Hutch, I don't think enjoys it that much. No fault to him. I don't think anybody should. and I don't know if Loner does as much. But I felt like I was kind of one of the only like aggressive-y personalities that was willing to be involved in that kind of stuff.
I would say that I kind of differ there. I do think it is definitely playing into anti-Semitic tropes. Where I would think maybe there's some room for difference is when we're talking like politically, right? And there's like other calculuses that have to go into it. In his primary, AIPAC is spending big, and I do think him stressing money in politics was kind of a winning issue for him. So maybe there was some calculus of just grouping this in with that. But regardless, I think it's a bad look, and I think it's more harmful than it is beneficial. I just don't know if I would call the intent anti-Semitic, but it definitely plays into those tropes.
And if, say in a few years, say PALPAC, which is like this kind of emerging pro-Palestinian pack that's trying to be like it's the rival to AIPAC from the other side, say they grow big enough and then they are funding campaigns, then like a pro-Israel Dem sees a poll they don't like and say, oh no, that sounds like PALPAC money. I don't know, I just feel like the anti-Arab Islamophobia claim would just be so much easier to make against them from the left. I'm just wondering why there's this like...
Can I post things in the side chat here? Can I post things in the side chat here?
Yes. What are you trying to post on stream if you want to post something, right?
I can't send you DMs because I'll post it in the side chat of the backstage.
And Lonerbox, you can go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's like the issue with this is like if you notice a pattern of attacks from a political action group, let's say it's AIPAC, let's say it's Soros, and then you see another one, you're like, probably Soros. I don't think this is necessarily anti-Semitic, right? It depends on the pattern of the behavior, right? If someone were to come out, like if Kraut, a person I know to be, left-wing, well-educated with a German history, were to come to me and tell me, question the Holocaust, I wouldn't immediately ascribe this as anti-Semitism, even though for 99% of anyone coming up to me and saying, hey, I don't think the numbers are right, I would be like, okay, there's a good chance this guy's anti-Semitic. Like, it depends on entirely who this is coming from, what the pattern of behavior they have, who they're usually accused of this sort of stuff, and if there is a repeated, like, hey, AIPAC has been spending millions of dollars against me, and like, just coming out and saying it's an AIPAC poll, I wouldn't even immediately jump to say this is anti-Semitism.
Do you see the thing that I sent to Wick?
I'm staring on the screen.
Would you say it raises eyebrows?
Absolutely.
Do you remember this? Do you remember that tweet by Trump?
With your streaming your audio too.
Oh, how do I stop that? Hold on.
You can mute it. You can mute it. Yeah.
Options.
Do you remember that tweet that Trump made? Hillary, the most corrupt candidate.
If you got unbanned on Twitch, do you think many people that blacklisted you would come/crawl back? I don't even know. I don't know how many people are even left, but I would be able to contact and interact with like normal streamers. I think. So like your Soda Poppins and your Nicks would be a lot more accessible to me.
Ever, and he used that red star of David and the outrage it caused.
Yeah.
Yes. Go through 2016 Twitter, look up the people who called that out, and look at what they have been posting throughout the last year as a little thought experiment.
They all are zogging out.
A lot of them are now zogging out. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
Zogging out.
Since Lonerbox wrote a hypothetical, what if someone did this with the Soros thing? I thought I'd bring up a real example, an actual one. Go look up the people who called that out.
Just to be clear, we'd all consider that anti-Semitic, right? That's pretty clear.
Yeah,
there's literally no other reason to use a Star of David.
Not necessarily. She's a very pro-Israel candidate, and Trump was just trying to rile up the masses who are critical of the Jewish state and their actions in Palestine.
Yeah, but he's pro-Israel.
But but he's a cynical politician. What are you going to do?
I think
I'm sorry. It just feels like there's a level of charity that's extended to one side but not the other. But I think,
True.
I was going to say, I think in that specific example, it's a little bit different just because for Trump, there is a such strong like pattern of behavior with like the globalization stuff he's pushed, with Soros and all these other kind of like Jewish billionaires to go with something like that I think it makes it more concrete. But it's kind of weighing different things, I think. Like
there's degrees to it, right? There's degrees to how some people hide it, how some people phrase it. Like, I think one of the worst anti-Semites in our current media landscape is Tucker Carlson. It became obvious way before the Gaza war broke out, way before he started even talking about Israel, when in how he talked about Ukraine, specifically how he framed Zelensky as a Jew who sacrificed Christians for a globalist cause.
Jesus.
Which is, when you say it like that, it just obviously sounds anti-Semitic, but it's not how he says it, right? There's degrees to hiding what you actually want to say. There's degrees to which you can sort of serve it covertly in. And Tucker Carlson is really, really good at sort of covertly serving anti-Semitism to his audience without them even realizing it. While others, I would argue that a lot of these Zog posters, the leftist ones, are not really good at hiding their anti-Semitism, but they just they do the thing that a lot of right-wing people did in 2016. The sort of post-ironic bullshit posting. Oh, it's shit posting. Oh, it's meme posting, when it's actually not meme posting.
Let's get some examples, okay? I got our little game here, and I found a few tweets. I'm going to share them on the screen. I'm going to start off with what I think is, and maybe this is just my opinion, pretty obvious, and then we're going to go to less obvious, okay? Let me see. Let me make it big for you guys. Oh, this is as big as it's going to get. So
yeah, that's what
the representative says, I'm an anti-DSA Democrat, proudly, unapologetically, forever, crush the DSA. Gato Fuminate replies, Jewish Zionists, absolutely hell-bent on demonstrating that they're a singularly toxic force in American politics. Lamau, every single one of you needs to be purged from all positions of power and influence. So, is this anti-Semitic? What are you thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it is, and it's funny because it's the one-word difference, and it's Jewish. If they had just said Zionists, and I think there's a lot of ways you can critique Zionism and not be anti-Semitic, I would have said, no, I mean, they just don't like the project of what is.
And isn't that the problem? Isn't that kind of the entire problem? I thought this person was anti-Semitic, but if they would have changed just a single word, I would have completely changed my opinion on it. And it's like, okay.
What Israel's doing right now, but the fact that they added Jewish, and like for what reason? Like other than like call out their Jewishness, like I think that's pretty clear.
So, well, hold on. In the hypothetical, they left out the Jewish. You would say that's probably not anti-Semitism? What?
I don't think it would be.
Like if someone said
still is.
Zionists are hell-bent on demonstrating that they're a singularly toxic force in American politics and need to be purged from all power. Is someone said that Zionists?
Yeah, no, that makes it like singularly hell-bent, purged. It would be anti-Semitic.
This is the bind that you get
And I
again.
think
Where
most
you
of
just
us-
said Zionists, so it's not going to be all Jews. It's just going to be most of them, right?
90%
most of us
of
here
them.
know
I
that's
have
what it is.
this would still be anti-Semitism. I want that on the record.
Got
Okay,
it.
well, as the 1v3 now, or 4, I guess, just because most Jews believe in it necessarily makes it anti-Semitic?
When it's kind of like a crucial part of Jewish identity for most Jews, then yes, it's
But
not just like
it
a
depends
random
on
thing
it
that
depends
doesn't
on
really
like
have.
what they're, again, this is why the word Zionist is so frustrating,
that's not
because
how-
I think
that's
you would
not how-
agree.
I think
That's
part
not
of it
how
is.
most
Hold on, you guys, look,
anti-Semites
I love the energy. Y'all are excited to get in here. I want to hear SoyPill finish, then I want to go to Kraut, and then we can get Social Society in here. Go ahead.
Right. So like the issue is Zionism means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, especially when you look at like polls that show like, what is it, 70-something% of people or Jews are like Zionists, right? Does this mean they want a safe place for Jews in the world? That's Zionism, okay? Okay, well, that's like a completely normal opinion, and if someone were to say something akin to, all Zionists should be treated like Nazis, it's like, well, holy shit, just for wanting to be safe, that's fucking insane, and that's probably a little anti-Semitic.
This, and again, a very American perspective. I don't know why I'm relentlessly good faith to these people. SoyPill is having an American perspective here where he's saying, well, safe place, but that could just mean like the democracy in the United States. That's a safe place, right? That's fine to have just a safe place. And it's like, that's not what they mean. Nobody is saying just a random safe place where there are laws against murdering people. That's not typically what people mean when they say, I want a safe place to exist. Usually, they're talking about exercising some level of sovereignty over themselves.
If not really anti-Semitic, not a little. Versus Zionism as it exists, hey, I think we need to maintain an ethnic majority and we should continue to purge people to maintain said ethnic majority and kick people off their land to do this ethnic majority.
Just for like almost all of human history, and even enduring to today, when I say this first in Europe, most countries are governed by, I think, an ethnic majority that still exercises sovereignty over itself. I bet that's probably true even in Europe, that most of Germany are probably like people of long German descent. Most of Sweden are people of long Swedish historical descent. Descent? Yeah. Not descent. It's the same word. Those are really different words. Why do they sound the same?
This is something that a lot of people, I think, could rapidly disagree with without being anti-Semitic and say, I don't care what your race is. I don't believe that any country or people should be able to do this to another group of people. But if you were to say Zionists, as in I'm referencing the people that believe that's okay, are rabid and disgusting and should be purged from politics, I don't think that would be anti-Semitic, which is why I think Zionists probably shouldn't be
But the question is
it's
like,
such an easy cudgel to use as like, are you being anti-Semitic or are you just, against the worst parts of what Zionism entails?
but the question is, what would we do that with any other belief system? If someone said that about Muslims, would we say, oh, maybe they're just talking about the Muslims who want to establish a caliphate and oppress women and kill all the Jews and the Christians?
Well, you said
no, we
earlier in
wouldn't.
this discussion that you hate Islam, right?
Yeah, I don't like Islam.
Oh, nice pivot. Big pivot.
Religion, yeah, but again, it's okay to say you don't like Zionism or you hate Zionism as well. I don't think that's necessarily anti-Semitic. But I think if I was going to a place of like where that person was saying that they're a singularly toxic force, then that does sound like you're giving them power that they don't have, like an exceptional level of power that they don't have. You are singling them out. You're scapegoating them for, I guess, every other toxic force in the United States. And you're also saying that you want to discriminate against them. You want to purge them from power and
Purging is not extermination. Purging is also sort of getting rid of something. Purging is an exterminationist language.
If this was 2016, and the tweet said MAGA is a singular toxic force, and there are only like 2 or 3 MAGA politicians, and they need to be purged, I would have the exact same argument. Even if like
MAGA is not an ethnic group, though. These are like, do you see what I mean when I say we're going back to like, I don't want to use the word chud. I hate the word chud because I'm a chud. But we're going back to like chud arguments on like understanding of race and everything, where it's like, I can say that I hate all Republicans and nobody has a problem with that. But as soon as I say I hate all black people, now all of a sudden that's a big problem. And it's like, well, these are different things.
70% of white people like MAGA, right?
MAGA is not an ethnic. It's not tied to
It's not a collective,
ethno-religious.
it's not a class, yeah. It's not like it's not a national identity.
Now he's gonna. Neither is Zionist. Ah! Ah!
Well, it's not a national identity. It's not like something that
Zionist. You can say that it's not because you want to point out Christian Zionists, but Zionism, at the very least, you would absolutely concede that, or you'd give the saying that it concerns itself with an ethnic destiny or with an ethnic right to self-determination, at the very least. If you want to say it's not an ethnic identity, fine. in the same way that I guess maybe black nationalism doesn't have to be an ethnic identity, because white people, I guess, could theoretically be black nationalists, but it definitely concerns itself with that.
That an entire religious group or an entire ethnic group or the majority of an ethnic group considers to be like kind of essential to at least
Again, we're hiding
survival.
behind the wide spectrum of like what Zionist means to people. When we look at the majority of Jews, do the majority of Jews support the ethnic cleansing of Gazans? I don't think so, but a majority of Jews probably say, I want a place in the world where Jews can go in case of the worst, types of things like in the 40s were to happen to them, right? Like these are very different terms, and saying, I think Zionism is disgusting.
Also, just a heads up. How is the space so far behind on every, like what happened in the 40s? It wasn't just the 40s. It was also the 1930s and 20s and 10s and the 1900s and the 1890s, 80s, 70s. It's through since the year fucking whenever the kingdom of Israel fell. I don't know why people I understand why they want Israel. I mean, for the Holocaust. And it's like, the Holocaust was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, technically Israel was already in the process of forming before the Holocaust. That's not even the thing. But
that's why I don't like using the word Zionist. It's like this is.
I think we can infer.
Do you think, okay, so just I want to guess. Do you think that got to a person when they think Zionist, they think Jew that just wants a safe place in the world versus Jew that wants to destroy all the Muslims and kill it? Yeah.
Exactly, and we're getting on this hypothetical where I'm like, yeah, had they used different language, I might have said they weren't anti-Semitic, but like they are.
It's not just
because of the language they use. They said Jewish.
They would have just used one different word.
Is. We've interacted with him before. Like it's kind of absurd to take one statement of his and sort of not compare it to any other statements or to what his personality is. You know that he's a bit of a. Not just a bit, he's quite a bit of a Jew baiter.
My understanding is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which just goes back to my point about patterns of behavior and who they are outside. So,
social society, go ahead, give us what you got.
Yeah, I would say there's two things on it. I think the rhetoric definitely plays into anti-Semitism, again, because of how it permeates is different than other kinds of bigotry, where like a lot of bigotry is about like, I guess, minimizing or making the people seem lesser than. Anti-Semitism really is about like creating this caricature, like an elite that's above you, and then reducing the entire group of like Jewish people down to this caricature. So when they're saying things like a single existential threat and using language like that, I don't think Jewish is necessarily what makes that anti-Semitic. And the other big thing is I think outcomes matter as much as intent in conversations. And if so much, like the majority of Jewish people are Zionists, and you want to purge Zionists from our democracy, well, that's going to discriminate against Jewish people. So I think that that's a bit anti-Semitic too. So that's where like my disagreement would be, why I would think that is anti-Semitic regardless.
I have a question. Would it be like anti-German in the 40s to say like we should purge Nazis from our government because like most of the country was Nazis? I wish Kraut was here.
I am here. I'm just smoking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I want your input on this too, specifically.
I know, but it's also for the same reason that people who spoke that way about ultra-Zionists are going to be different, right? Wait.
Ultra-Zionist being...
because Zionism is really just Jewish nationalism. Like at its foundation, it's the idea of like there being a Jewish state in the same way there's a German state. So it's like saying that, I don't know why we go from Nazi when really the analog would be German. Like,
no, I mean, Zionism is a belief. There are eschatologists, there are American Zionists that are not Jewish. It is not inherently tied to Judaism at all.
It concerns itself with the destiny of Jews. To say that Zionism has nothing to do with Jews is just such a narrow reading of reality. That's just a crazy narrow reading of reality. I don't know how else to say that. That's just wacky AF. That's wacky F. Wacky F.
It's not entirely
a lot of Jews want to be able to self-determine because Jews want to have a safe place in the world does not mean, first of all, not all Jews are Zionist, and we're going off polls that I assume if the polls... I think if you went
into like late 19th century Ottoman Empire and said, there's fucking Armenians who want independence and need to be purged, like that might be a comparison that I could make.
But again, we keep picking like ethnicities, right? If I say Nazis, which is...
Armenian independence movement, there will also...
Jew... This won't come up. He's misspeaking or something here. I'm just misunderstanding. Jew is an ethnicity. For every part of the world where Jew is talked about, it is an ethnicity. The ethnic destiny, the ethnic, I'll say determination or whatever, of the Jewish people does not have to do with people who are part of like the Judaic religion. It has to do with Jewish ethnic people. That's what that means.
Armenians, probably some, at least, wanted to remain part of the Ottoman Empire and were comfortable within it. It's like no comparison is going to be 100% accurate, but it is sort of at the top of my head.
This is why, for my limited understanding, this is why Islam, okay, is the superior religion, at the very least, to Judaism, because holy fuck. And I guess Christian was a stepping stone, was because one of the issues you had with people that fought in the Middle East all the time is they fought based on family relations, based on how closely related they were to people, is how they would build their tribes, and then how they would war with other tribes of people. And one of the things that Islam did was it gave everybody a common family, the Ummah, okay? Muslims against the world. And it was good because it united them on that front. So now the infighting or whatever was harder to justify because you had a common shared enemy, your external non-Muslim populations. But Jews, and the whole like, well, we're not going to convert anybody, and it's just like a thing that we all practice amongst ourselves, kind of fucked themselves on that, just saying. Really hurts their ability to expand their ethnic peoples, their populations.
The one that I could think of. And again, as mentioned before, that is the really important part, in my opinion, is we know who Gato Formodai is. We know how he talks about Jews. We're trying to reestablish a way of sort of, hey, here is how this anti-Semite could have said this without sounding like an anti-Semite.
Yes.
Which overlooks the fact that he's an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'm just saying, like,
kind of goofy.
if we're looking at the statement in a vacuum, like, even without knowing this person's history.
How can you look at any statement in a vacuum? If Destiny says black people are good athletes, do you hear that the same way as when Nick Fuentes says black people are good athletes? Right? Well, actually, for these people, maybe they would say that, right? It's like, how do you analyze anything in a vacuum? That's so weird and goofy.
The statement is anti-Semitic to me by saying Jewish Zionists. So that's, they're all.
But just to clarify, singling them out as a... But to clarify, singling them out as a singularly, like isolating them as a singularly toxic force that needs to be purged from all positions of power and influence, that doesn't move the needle for you if you just said Zionist.
It depends on how you interpret that. If you're saying, like, they're the worst people in government, like, if you're reading it that way, then yeah, I would say that's probably leaning more, because it's like, okay, there are 8 million other groups that are way worse than Zionists in our government. We've got MAGA, we've got, oil lobbyists. Like, if that is how you're reading, then I would say yes, but I'm not necessarily sure that's how they're saying it.
Okay, next contestant, okay? It's from Cenk Uygur, our favorite. Kushner met with Netanyahu today for 4 hours. Kushner, sorry. Kushner, I don't fucking know. And he came out saying the U.S. would back further military action in Gaza. Oh, so an Israeli goes to talk to an Israeli about how America should fund more genocide in Gaza on behalf of Israel? How fucking convenient.
How normal. Yeah, that's also, listen, fuck Netanyahu, fuck Israel, whatever, but like, this is normal, yes. Other world leaders will come and talk to your world leaders to try to get them to help their country. That's what world leaders do. That's kind of their fucking job. No shit, Sherlock.
Who the fuck is Jared Kushner? He has no official role in the U.S. government. Why is he promising our money to his favorite country on earth?
Yeah, he didn't have that in the first term either, but yet he was the lead doing negotiations for our fucking Abraham Accords.
Why is he giving guarantees on behalf of the American people that we love to fund more genocide? Who the fuck is in control of our government? It definitely isn't us. The Israelis who run the U.S. government couldn't care less what the average American thinks. If Israel wants more war and genocide, you have to pay for it. Is this anti-Semitic?
Yes, because Kushner is not an Israeli citizen.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Kushner is not an Israeli.
I would say it's definitely the Zog stuff. A singular Israeli citizen can influence U.S. foreign policy. That's just insane to me. Like, this is a level of delusion I aspire to never reach in my 80s. That's for sure.
SoyPill.
Unfortunately, yeah, this is the one where I'm like, okay, first 2 paragraphs are like, and then last paragraph is like very clearly turns this into anti-Semitic, which is our government is literally run by Israel. Yeah, like this is just undeniable.
I just want to point out that like I'm not exactly a big fan of Kushner, but just the fact that he calls him an Israeli even though he isn't is very significant.
That's super sus. Good job, Kraut. That's right. That's really fucking weird. When people call, this is probably one of the most racist things that Hasan does, is when Hasan says things, when he called, like, the whole concept of like this insult of spiritually Israeli is such a weird fucking insult. That is so fucking weird to say. Spiritually Israeli? What the fuck does that mean? And it demonstrates a level of not goodness, okay, that should be raising anybody's eyebrows.
Yeah. About this whole conversation is like, let's say it was even
especially for our boy IRI. When the fuck have you ever heard IRI talk about fucking Israel and how important it is to be good to his fucking host country? Like that, yeah, it's just gross and weird.
Worse. Like, Cenk was like, these Jews run our government. It's just like totally unambiguous. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, but what are we talking about here? Like, take a step back. It's like, is this guy playing into anti-Semitism and making it worse by saying that Israel runs the government? Yes. Is it horrible that we have a non-government entity, basically, who is tied to the president, discussing our foreign policy and deciding how money is?
No! Again, and Jesus Christ, don't get mad at me if you're Ukrainian or anything listening, but like, Zelensky, when he comes to America, talks to the U.S. about helping Ukraine. Yes, that's why world leaders come here. They're talking about helping their country. No shit. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. That's not abnormal at all. That's the most normal thing in the world.
Is spent to some degree. That's also terrible. And so while I hate that this is happening, and I hate that anti-Semitism comes from it, it's also annoying that it's like, okay, well, now the conversation has become whether or not this is playing into anti-Jewish tropes, and not, hey, this is a fucking insane level of corruption, and like, as much as I think we need to stop the spread of anti-Semitism, can someone talk about this in a non-anti-Semitic way so that we can talk about how fucked our government is right now? That should be the more important thing. And I say this as someone who will absolutely be on the receiving end of the rising tide of anti-Semitism. You
won't be, because you're one of the good ones. You're the Jewish Voices for Peace guy.
The corruption and the Gaza stuff.
You can one of the good ones. That's the horrible thing about this. You can actually do that. He had the choice to do that, but he didn't.
Do anti-Semites even need to say the word Jew when Zionist covers like 90% of Jews? No, that's the whole point. That's why I'm saying it's one of like the nicest cop-outs, is that like you never have to, you are so stupid. If you're an anti-Semite today, why the fuck would you ever say anything about Jews? Just say Zionist. You cover basically all your bases. It is corrupt. Kushner is a part of Trump's family, no? And that's the only reason he's there. Well, no, it's corrupt that Kushner is running things. Yeah, of course. But that's because he's part of Trump's family. That does have to do with his blood. But not because it's Jewish blood, but because it's not even really blood, actually. It's by marriage. He's Trump's son-in-law. Trump fucking pardoned his fucking dad. Like, yeah, talk about corruption. But a foreign leader coming to have a discussion about their country. That's not corruption.
No.
He tried this out and said that.
No, he's
Well, that's
making it
establishment
worse.
rhetoric. If you just talk about good old authentic American Trump corruption, that's an establishment then talking about. That's boring.
True.
Okay. Well, small break from our game. $20 from Das Vildanya. Oh, first of all, sorry. $20 from Dirty Deeds for free. Says, need more Kraut? Lighting up a cig just for you. Heart emoji. Thank you for the $20. Trib1, thank you for the 8-month membership. Wow. Sponsored by AIPAC and Jews. Well, thank you for your money. $20 from Das Vildanya. Can you ask SoyPill, or really the panel, how AIPAC spending works outside of its spending through the United Democracy Project? Because I wonder if they actually know.
Uh-oh.
Question to the panel.
I mean, it's a very broad question, how it works. Like, I would not be able to discuss the ins and outs of campaign finance and super PACs to the degree that I...
That's not what he's asking. I think what he's asking is, how do you figure that the contributions come from AIPAC or from an AIPAC-aligned thing? How is that figured? I'm pretty sure is what the donor was asking.
I'm sure that... I feel like Kondo made a video on this at one point, so I just know they dump a lot of money into ads, they dump a lot of money into campaigns, and it's not done through AIPAC. They have shell PACs. AIPAC is not a PAC, it's a public affairs committee. But yeah, to what specific degree, I'm not sure what that question's asking.
I can help if you want. So wait, they were asking about besides United Democracy Fund, like what else they do?
I'll do it
Because
again. How
AIPAC
AIPAC spending
okay.
works outside of its spending through the United Democracy Project.
Right. Well, AIPAC itself is they're like a lobby group. So they, before 2021-22, they were 501c4, so they don't have to disclose who funds them. They used to spend not that much money at all, wasn't it? It was like less than $5 million on bipartisan lobbying. Like they wouldn't actually endorse candidates. It was after 2021-22 where they created, first of all, AIPAC PAC, and then the much bigger one.
Also, because I've seen this said on my sub a few times, and from other people, but I don't know if it's true or not. If it is true, listen, if you want to make me anti-Semitic, this is the quickest way to do it, okay? Is it true that AIPAC, like, very clearly spends a majority of their money on Republican candidates? Because I've had some people say that, but then I've had other people say that's not true. It's like 50-50.
On the United Democracy Project, which is where all these kind of like tens of millions numbers come for, mostly for Democrat primaries. I don't know if the chatter is alluding to the fact that sometimes...
Oh, yeah, that is what I was asking. Loner got a bunch of it, but missed part I was saying, oh, you were the donor. Nice, okay.
They've also been resorting to making these kind of like shell packs where they do have to disclose the funds at some point, but they don't have to do it before the campaign is over. So they make like a new pack that is just called Michigan Future or some shit like that, where it's like, it seems to be nothing to do.
It feels really weird to have a full discussion about AIPAC where no one fully understands AIPAC, LeMayo. Welcome to all of U.S. politics, by the way, where Crystal Ball didn't even understand what an independent expenditure was and was trying to fight with a congressman over banning them.
Do with no connection to AIPAC, but then they do the race and then
People are saying it's about 50-50 on their expenditure. Okay.
they disclose their funding after the race, and it turns out, oh, that's a lot of AIPAC money. And also for United Democracy Project, they are a super PAC, which means they do disclose all their donors. Their FEC filing shows like a list of top donors. One of their top donors is just AIPAC, which again, we don't know like all the funders of AIPAC. And for United Democracy Project, which is the bigger one, I actually spent a good few hours looking through all the top names of the top donors, up to like down to ones who donate 5 million, down to 2 million, to 100,000. I didn't actually expect like almost all of them to be Jewish. Like, I
Look
thought
at
it was
this
like,
ship that goes to
it's
a kilo,
also the funny
a
thing. Like, it is
quillo.
basically
Look at how
like
small it
disproportionately
is.
or even majority Jewish money.
204 tons, 6 guns in the front, 5 boosters in the back. Look at it go. It doesn't make its own ammo rockets, though, but look at him. Look at him traveling. What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. $2 from Lost Coyote to say George Soros killed my grandma. Sorry to hear that. $2 from the Trib One. How many Zionists are in our American politics?
Uh-oh.
I guess it depends how you define Zionist, huh?
Shit.
Super Duper Scooper for $2 replaced Zionist with globalists from the right.
Why does the Scottish guy know more about it than the Americans? Everybody on the planet knows American politics because our politics affects everybody and we're the loudest people politically.
And then a Tier 1 membership for 1 month. Wow. Would Soy give this charity to All Lives Matter?
Yeah, I know a lot of people that say all lives matter that were very much not racist. It was just a like very obstinate reaction to the phrase Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, of course they do. All lives matter. And then I knew a lot of people that were saying it because they wanted to say White Lives Matter and they wanted to diminish BLM. I unfortunately, in the same way, like it's interesting to me. I believe everyone on this panel will probably be like, yeah, MAGA is basically freaking fascists, maybe even like Nazi comparisons at this point. But like when you meet MAGA like on the street, like most like of these Southern moms, they're not Nazis, but they are going along with like the like policies of mass deportations.
Oh my God. He's accidentally, while biting bullets, he's almost getting to the point that I keep bringing up over and over again, that the statements that people are making on this are just, they fundamentally misunderstand how a lot of bigotry works. That bigotry is not like I have like this inherent evil belief system about a group of people. Usually it's based on, you know, what I say, factual misunderstandings. Like they have some basis in fact, they think at least, about why some group of people is lesser or we shouldn't like them or whatever else. It's not just they're just filled with hate.
And the worst like parts of the rise of Trump's fascism. And it's like, okay, well, am I spreading white Southern mom rhetoric by saying like MAGA are Nazis? Like kind of, but it's also just like what that movement is. And I really do want to like try to disentangle. Like yes, Zionism is a belief. Yes, it's intrinsically very tied to Jewish history, but it is not inherent to being Jewish. And yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make.
Okay.
I think that really illustrates the problem we have right now, which is that I agree. Like it's the same thing when people always talk about the history of like Nazi Germany and like the fact that when Nazis were coming to power, they didn't talk about anti-Semitism all that much in the late 20s because they knew it was an election winner. The election winners were anti-communism and Versailles and rearmament and all that shit, right?
But there's a comment that I can make for you on that one as well, because that's something that I researched before on the
Can you
street.
put a pin in it? Oh, you're going.
The thing that I just DM'd to you, Lonerbox, sorry for interrupting you. This is Conduit just sent me a link to this video.
Got him.
That just pointing out that Kremlin Kyle, sorry, Kyle Kulinski, I always call Kremlin Kyle. He literally refers to the U.S. government as ZOG, as Zionist occupied.
True.
Yeah.
Kyle Kulinski. Well, first of all, Lonerbox, finish your thought, and then we have the next entry.
Because to me,
weird.
it comes back to the Nazi analogy. Like this was this was like arguably even the more crucial problem wasn't so much the people who were dyed-in-the-wool Jew haters who wanted to kill them all. It was the much larger portion of the German population that saw what was happening, that didn't necessarily want it all that much, or didn't really like it even at times, but they were willing to tolerate it for some kind of greater cause. Well, it's better than having a Bolshevik Germany, or it's better than losing to Europe again, like that kind of thing. And this was kind of like this permission. Yeah, this was like the permission structure. And right now it does definitely seem like a lot of people are just willing to kind of throw this issue under the bus or like under the carpet because MAGA, right? And I know that what's happening right now is that with a lot of these candidates, I don't think people like the candidates right now, like the DSA ones, I don't know if I would call it like the majority of them anti-Semitic or say that they've crossed that threshold, but they are definitely starting to do things that I don't think would have been acceptable in liberal politics even just a few years ago, and definitely wouldn't be acceptable if they were coming from right-wingers if you just switched a couple of words around, if you just switched AIPAC for Soros or if you switched Zionist for globalist, all else equal. So I guess that would be the more interesting thing. So I think it's quite easy to find someone like, Kyle Kulinski, he's obviously miles above the bar between, okay Zionism or disagreeable Zionism, but then above that bar there's rabid anti-Zionism or impermissible levels of anti-Zionism. But I guess
like if you switch the words and it's like, well, yeah, but the words have different meanings, right? Like globalist is kind of a catch-all for people like part of a conspiracy that want to destroy your independence. Like that's really the only people that use the word on the right. Like on the left, a globalist would be like, yeah, I believe in international free trade, but you just almost never heard it that way from the right. Zionist is like I said, it's too big of a tent of a word where it can mean a guy who believes that Jews should be safe to like whatever Israel is doing in Gaza right now is completely justified because of my Zionism. And so I think, yeah, if you switch these words, it could mean something different, but like that's because those words are completely different. It's like, oh, well, you said you hate spoons. Well, what if you replaced spoons with black people? Like not so funny anymore, is it? Like, well, it's not the same word. It's completely different.
For one, I don't actually know if I've met these Jews who believe that war crimes are justified because of Zionism. I think most Jews actually who are Zionists, who even the ones who support war crimes, seem to accept that you can still be a Zionist and not support war crimes. But going beyond that,
you could be a Zionist who doesn't support it. You could be a Zionist who does. Like this is why this word is too big of a encompassing thing.
But again, that's why like we don't say it for like we don't say.
I mean, like technically, you could turn this argument on its head and still use it against the SoyPill because it's like, okay, fine. Okay, you know what? Actually, just concede everything and say, okay, well, you're right on that SoyPill. Maybe Zionist is a very, very, very broad thing, but if that's the case, then why should anybody ever call themselves anti-Zionist? Isn't that really weird then? If even by your own argumentative standards, you're saying that Zionism is an incredibly broad thing that can encompass a lot of different ideas, then why would you ever call yourself like anti-Zionist? Wouldn't that make it very imprecise and unclear what it is you're even criticizing?
Say Muslims, when we talk about terrorists, we specify, which is why when we talk about Ben-Gvir, we probably want to specify ultra-Zionist or like a rabid Zionist versus like a more liberal one. But obviously, for people like the ones that we're looking at right now, to them, there is no good Zionist, right? There's no okay Zionist. It's all unacceptable. It's all genocidal. It's all racist to the core. It's all ethno-nationalist. It's all genocidal to the core. And these are the ones where we'd maybe go and consider them bigoted. But coming back to what you're saying, I don't think there's much of a meaningful difference between reflexively calling everything you don't like AIPAC and calling everything Soros. Because Soros does fund liberal things.
It is everything. You don't like them. Like for example, wait, because I want to agree with Loner. Like if you're doing it for literally everything, that's when it starts to play into these anti-Semitic tropes, right? Where it's like, okay, Kyle Kulinski, or I'll say it, or any of these people like noticing a pattern of AIPAC attacks on them. Okay, that's not necessarily anti-Semitic. That is literally they're attacking you and you're fighting back. But if I think this is the example of these Moroccan migrants coming to Spain where there was some conspiracy about like Israel did it, and Kyle Kulinski just basically is like, yep, Israel. There was no reason for this to my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong. That is anti-Semitic. You're just like, yep, Jews control migration to Spain to do some like Israel project. Like that's when it becomes like, okay, you are just taking any problem you have and funneling it into this lens of like, and it's because of Israel. That's
What?
Since Lonerbox brought up Nazi Germany, interwar Nazi Germany, right? You brought that up briefly before.
I think I brought it up, but
the Communist Party particularly. Do you guys know that the Communist Party of Germany in the interwar period in the 1920s and 1930s was an overtly anti-Semitic organization? Became
I've heard of this,
Yes, so that started in 1923. I have the page of the book open right here, so make sure that I don't get anything wrong. So in 1922, 1923, the German Social Democratic Party, as the Nazi party, rose in popularity and became more overtly anti-Semitic. The Social Democrats made the decision that they would oppose anti-Semitism in German politics. And that resulted in the reaction of the Communist Party of Germany accusing the Social Democrats of protecting the Jewish bourgeoisie From then onward, the communists started launching campaign after campaign after campaign, framing the Social Democrats as the protectors of Jewish capital. Then, as the Nazi anti-Semitism, because the Nazi party started becoming more popular as the 1920s came to an end and the 1930s came in, right?
It's funny that Kraut has the same level of unhinged snuggers that you do. Anybody that like left the right gets like pretty... The problem with leaving the right is that like when you leave the left and then you go to the right accepts you with like open arms. But when you leave the right, like nobody likes you. You're like fucking public enemy number one. You're just fucked. You're hated by everybody. Kraut used to be, I would never say, I don't know if he was ever like a right winger, but I feel like he was like on the kind of big on like the anti-woke stuff a long time ago, I think. So he kind of got associated with a lot of the Sargon types online. But once you leave, another person who did that was the guy on the balcony with the shotgun and the girlfriend. I was gonna call him Aiden now, but it's not Aiden. What's this guy's name? Hunter Avalon. Yeah, I think he lost a lot of his audience, and then people like fucking like hate the fuck out of him as well.
Right. The communists jumped on board of that ever-growing popular anti-Semitism. In 1930, they purged the Communist Party of all high-ranking members who were Jewish. That's the Communist Party, not the Nazi Party. And starting in the 1930s, the Rote Fahne, the official newspaper of the Communist Party.
Also, keep in mind, sadly, because the libs don't have our own, we don't have our own like propaganda machine. That, and I'm not getting, I'm not trying to attack any of the people here, well, except for maybe SoyPill, I guess. But like these types of conversations are really good for the anti-Semites or for like the people who are enjoying the confusion between the terms, because it's just, instead of actually arguing or debating about how unhinged and crazy and weird their positions are, you're just endlessly kind of fighting on this weird tone policing thing on like what counts as anti-Semitic, what doesn't count as anti-Semitic. Meanwhile, all the people who are being anti-Semitic understand these arguments perfectly, because if you say anything that even remotely implies like Islamophobia or racism against Arabs or anything, they will immediately lose their shit on you. They'll immediately lose their shit on you. So they understand it on either side, but then they'll allow people to come in and just endlessly kind of whinge on these topics over here, yeah.
They started publishing articles like, Die Nazis sind die Helfer des jüdischen Kapitals. The Nazis are the actual helpers of Jewish capital. Continuously, like the wave of attack that they used, the method of attack they previously used against Social Democrats, accusing them of protecting Jewish capital, they then turned that to the Nazis, saying, oh yeah, the Nazis are actually secret protectors. What's the name again for someone who loves Jews? File. Yeah,
Xenophiles?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
A Ziophile? Is that a real word?
I thought that is worth pointing out here, because I reread that again before I came on the stream, and we told me that we were streaming about this, and that feels very similar to some of the things that is happening right now,
Philo-Semitic?
To me, in a certain extent. Because if we're going to be very honest about who repopularized anti-Semitism, at least in the social media spaces, it was the right? It was sort of the alt-right elements that moved around the magosphere, who popularized anti-Semitic memes at the very least. Yeah. And it does seem to have become increasingly more popular. And I think that what we are seeing certain leftists do is in many ways a repeat of that. They're jumping onto something. They're seeing that this is something that worked, and they want to have a slice of that pie, more or less. And in particular, people like Kulinski and Cenk Uygur and Anna, etc., I think that is what is basically happening here. Wanted to let that in.
No,
if you want, I can... since Lona brought it up, I can send Lona the book as well.
No, if you want to send the book, and that's interesting information. I did not know that. I guess to a point brought up earlier, right, that Zionist is this Big Tent word and things like that, and it could mean this, could mean that, depending. And this is to SoyPill specifically. Have you ever heard someone on if someone on social media or in these spaces gets called a Zionist, has it ever been positive?
In recent years, no, of course not. I mean, especially with like everything that's happened from October 7th forward, it's absolutely a pejorative.
Yes. When people, at least in these spaces, talk about Zionist and they're calling someone a Zionist, it's never someone who just wants a safe place for Jews to live, right? Like, I think it's a safe bet at this point. If someone's using...
Yeah, that's true. Like, who is even using this definition that the SoyPill is claiming, like, well, some people think it just means this. It's like every single time it's brought up, this seems to be way more negatively loaded than that. So I'm curious who's even using, like, that definition,
the word Zionist. They're not meaning that. They're meaning...
Well, I think people attacking people with the word Zionist usually don't mean, I hate people who want a safe place for Jews. But when Jews say, I'm a Zionist, a lot of them are like, yeah, I do believe that there should be a safe place for Jews in the world. So it's like you've got people attacking people to say, I think...
Like, when would we ever let somebody define a term for the group that's outside of the group and hates the group? Like, why would you ever let somebody do it? Like, so if every Jew says Zionist means this, but all the people that hate Jews, or anti-Zionist, I guess, say Zionist means this, why would we let those people have more of a say than the actual people themselves? Isn't that kind of...
think you're disgusting for what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. Zionists are gross. And then you have people like, yeah, I'm a Zionist. Of course, I think it's cool to live in Israel. Like, so like, it's a big mix.
I think Brad Lander's a good example of that. He calls himself a liberal Zionist, and when he goes on like CNN and stuff, like Dana Bash refers to him as a Zionist and things, and I don't think they have necessarily negative connotations. But I do think, just from what I've seen online, is it's definitely adopted a negative connotation online. I'm curious for Loner or Kraut, do you guys think there's a way to critique Zionism that isn't anti-Semitic?
Yes.
Like, how would
Yes.
that look? So how would that
Yes.
look? And like, what's kind of the difference there you see it?
One really obvious one is that they tried to build a country in a place that people already live there. And they were so fucking, if you look at some of Herzl's diaries or his responses to Arab leaders at the time, he is so unbelievably naive in just saying like, yeah, you know, we'll come, we'll bring our, you know, we'll bring some like European farming methods and we'll build the place up and it'll be good for everyone. And there's no problem here, okay? Like they were in denial and they were so blissfully unaware for like decades that there was this emerging Arab national group amongst these peasants, because they just, like, the peasants at the time were just they were mostly illiterate. Like they didn't really care about politics and they lived in an empire. But when there was this emerging Arab national movement, the Zionists took decades to acknowledge that it was a thing. And then it wasn't even until like the 20th century when they started to acknowledge that actually, okay, not only are they a group that lives here, they're a sizable group, and they don't actually like us, because why the fuck would they like us? It took them so long to get there. And obviously, yeah, the idea you're going to have a Jewish majority in this place, and you're going to build up your settlements in a way that doesn't just take a small enclave, like a small strip at the beach or anything like that. It's like you stretch out and go across the territory, leaving an Arab majority area above and below you, and then you.
One of the big issues with a lot of the Jews that were the early Zionists that were getting people to move over and everything is sometimes I think they did have too European coded a view of the world, that they really did believe that what he's saying there was a lot of the arguments that were even showing up in some of the commissions where the Brits would send people over to figure out what's going on. And they were like, well, you know, the Jewish people are coming over, they're cultivating a ton of land, this place is producing way more than it ever did before, the taxes here are improving like Arab infrastructure. They should be really happy, I guess, to have all these Jews come over. And then it wasn't until 36 was the Peel Commission, 37, 36, I don't remember. Where it was the first time that the Brits had done like a kind of an overview of the situation, and we're like, okay, actually, it seems like the Arabs are not actually happy with this, and it seems like shit is actually insanely fucked, and it seems like this shit is going to civil war. Like, good luck.
You build a little triangle of settlements down in the south so that you can claim all of the Negev. Then obviously it's like you're asking for a fight. Like, and they should have known this. Some of them did, some of them very early on did, but most of them just denied it. They just thought there would be some kind of peaceful solution. They would just peacefully accept. Yeah, of course there are problems with Zionism. But again, also, I will also comment on the question because it's so fucking annoying when people say, and I'm not accusing you of doing this, when people do this thing where they say, oh, everyone just says that there's no way you can criticize Israel or Zionism without being called anti-Semitic. Like, yes, you can. It's actually quite easy. And Zionists do it all the time. Yeah.
I was about to get on that because you've said it a couple times in this discussion. You've said ultra-Zionist, which is like, okay, this like modifier is implying like these are the people that are okay with like everything Israel's doing now in service of maintaining Israel. Like, is that how you would get around all of this? Like, if every lefty started saying ultra-Zionist specifically to caveat and distinguish away from a lot of Jews who just want to feel safe, would this be more acceptable rhetoric? Would this like...
I think it would be more acceptable. It could still be sus, but I think it'd be more acceptable. But it is telling that not only have the conversations not gone in that direction of trying to specify and say, well, ultra-Zionist, they've actually gone the other direction, where people, especially like Hasan, are literally saying all Zionists, baby settlers, everybody that thinks this, right? They're going the other direction. They're making the language even broader.
Deviate most of the accusations of anti-Semitism? Like, is there like some better word that people could use?
Yeah, well, there should be, but you can't use ultra-Zionist because, again, a lot of these people are already using ultra-Zionist to just mean all Zionists.
Oh,
because
yeah,
this is like,
that's right, yeah.
Kind of thing where someone will take a Ben-Gvir quote and say this is the whole country, even though he's like, he gets 5% of the vote, right? So, but yeah, no, there should be, in the same sense that between anti-Zionism and, rabid anti-Zionism, there should be a line that should be quite clear. And yeah, there's some problematic statements that can exist without making someone a rabid anti-Zionist, in the same way that a Zionist can say maybe a couple of problematic things, but there's a fine line or there's a notable difference between them and like a rabid Zionist. Yes, I think this should be like a fair distinction on both sides.
But you said because they already are doing this, it doesn't work. Like, like if they're going to use it and capitalize on any and all words that we use to try to distinguish people who want to do like abhorrent war crimes and people who just want a Jewish state, what do you do? Like, is there a word you can use? Like, okay, there are ways Zionists do it, but like, what is the word that you can do where someone, not like Gato Fumagate or whatever, but like say, I mean, unless you guys, I don't know, everyone thinks I'm an anti-Semitic, thank you super now, but let's just say Wick. Wick is very clearly not anti-Semitic, okay? Wick really wants to call it Israel. What word can Wick use in a 140 character tweet that is not Zionist to describe the actions of these, Israel's government as terrible? I think you look at a lot of the...
Israel's government right now is terrible. Why would I need to...
You can call them right-wing Zionists,
so
or you can just call them right-wing Israelis, or just read them right-wingers, or you can call them Kahanists. So like, yeah, obviously, like even ultra-Zionists I think is fine, because again, it has to be, I'm talking about what is acceptable for good faith people and not fucking retards. So like, if anything, whatever, can't stop other people misusing it. But yeah, Kahanists is a good one, because that's what Ben-Gvir is, that's what Smotrich is. If you want to say Netanyahu, he's a right-winger. He's it's just that we do this without any other nation. Like, we know that not every American is Trump, so... Or every pro-American is Trump, if you want to put it that way.
I guess the issue there is, like, if you were to say, MAGAists or Trumpists, like, obviously this is tied to him, but I think a lot of people I think you see politicians that people will say, hey, they're calling out Israel. Look, they're saying Netanyahu's government is bad, but like they're very careful not to use certain words. I think, of all people, they're like the most careful about not being anti-Semitic. And it seems like they're willing to say like, yeah, if Netanyahu didn't get elected, but someone else did, or like, someone else doing similar things, but it wasn't them. Like they're allowed to play that defense. Well, I called out the people doing those things, but now there's a new person in government. It's like, well, you weren't really criticizing the idea. You had the scapegoat of like, it was this guy's government and now he's gone. So now what? Like, are you actually critical of it? People get wary of when you just like, oh, it's the right wing. That's the problem. And not, well, there's a huge chunk of Israel that's okay with what's happening now.
Oh, you mean like criticizing the very concept itself? Like, Lona is obviously more educated on how Israel came to be, etc., and the ideology of Zionism than I am. I'm not very familiar with it. But if like the thing that social society, if that question is still open for me, I would just say I'm a liberal. And if you're, at least in my conception of what liberalism is, there isn't really much space for nationalism. Don't really like nationalism, and Zionism is inherently nationalistic. And
I wonder what he means when he says nationalism. Certainly, he doesn't just mean like all like patriotism or something, right? Like he can't mean that, I would imagine, right?
And from that point of view, that like if that is something that you wanted to approach it from that point of view, I can reject it very much so, because at least the liberals, in the terms of what I consider myself, one pursues internationalism, the crossing of borders, right?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
is
and-
Yeah, in
Go
that
ahead, social society, please.
I was going to say, yeah, that's kind of closer to maybe what I meant by my question. I didn't mean necessarily criticisms of the idea of Zionism itself, but how people can levy these criticisms without being called anti-Semitic. And I do think Brad Lander is a good example of this. Like, he is Jewish, refers to himself as a Zionist, is like unapologetically pro-Israel and all of these things, and like has been outspoken about like the Novafest protests, like all of these things. But then anytime he kind of gets criticisms, anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
Here's
I don't
the
think you have to be nice either. What is the fat idiot called with the glasses? The Israeli, I think, interior
Ben-Gvir?
minister. Yeah, I don't think it
You
would
think
be
he means, like,
in any way
racial
anti-Semitic to even refer to that guy as a fascist at this
Yeah, he
point.
probably is.
Well, he is a fascist, so yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah,
funny
it's
is
something-
not only do most Israelis think that or something adjacent, Israeli right-wingers mostly don't like Smotrich because Smotrich does things that Jews actually consider to be quite taboo, like running around the fucking Temple Mount waving flags and making a fucking ass of yourself just to provoke conflict. Like even most Israeli right-wingers don't like that behavior. But Netanyahu scumbag needs to keep his shitty government together. To answer your question, SoyPill, I don't know maybe you could tell me who you're referring to as an example, like someone who says they criticize the Netanyahu government, etc., but they're still
The most
permissive
recent
of like.
person I can think of is maybe like McMorrow said stuff like this, but I'd have to go back and look up like.
People are accusing McMorrow of being anti-Semitic, or even Jewish people ever accusing her of being anti-Semitic, or I'm curious.
People,
Like-
Probably
sorry.
McMorrow. Yeah, it was like the one I can think of that comes to mind, but I might be wrong even on that. It's like certain recent candidates where it's like, how do you distinguish the guy who's saying like, hey, Israel is doing terrible things from the other candidate? Well, the other candidate's usually the other Democratic primary candidate's usually saying something like, I condemn Netanyahu. Maybe they won't call the Gaza actions genocidal, but they'll say like Netanyahu's government is despicable, or Ben Gvir is despicable, or Smotrich is despicable, right? Like these are the people that are kind of like, all right, you've not really been voting in ways that would indicate that you really truly believe this, but you're kind of scapegoating certain members of the government, saying, "Oh, well, I disagree with those people," but then you won't like hold the Israeli government accountable if it comes to a House vote, that sort of thing.
All right, so that's just like someone like Hillary, even like because Hillary doesn't like Netanyahu at all. She doesn't like settlements or anything. But like at the end, a lot of these Democrats are not going to freeze all of the weapon sales to Israel. There's no way. Sorry, but my question to you is that roughly what you're referring to? Like that kind of like
Yeah,
swap in?
basically,
Yeah. Okay. Can you share a political movement with those people?
Can I?
Yeah, could you? Would you be comfortable
Yeah,
sharing
I
a political
do.
movement? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are you more or less or equally comfortable sharing a movement with someone who thinks Israel and Zionism is a cancer on the planet? They are controlling American politics, and it's actually based when Hezbollah fires rockets at them.
Yes.
Well, I mean, saying I rapidly oppose Zionism and we need to do everything in our power to hold Israel accountable is one thing. Saying it's based when Hezbollah fires rockets, I guess that's when I start to be like, eh. But
That's when I started to be like, eh. Like what he's just described is a more extreme position than Fuentes has on Jewish people. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but
it's funny because like look at the two things we're weighing right now. It's like, am I okay with enabling Israel to continue their actions in Gaza, which is going to kill far more people than Hezbollah, or am I pro Hezbollah, which is like, okay, socially taboo, normative, or like whatever the norm is. Like you look like you're pro terrorist, and yet the other group that you're referring to here, which I already said, like, hey, I share a group with these people. It's hey, I'm cool with what Israel's doing in Gaza, killing tens of thousands of people. So like I'm unfortunately comfortable with both. The norm breakers are going to look worse because they're supporting Hezbollah, and that's disgusting. But it's like it is the status quo to support Israel, which is doing horrible things right now. So one is actually utilitarian.
just because you support Israel doesn't mean you have an overt support for the horrible things, though. Right? Like you can be opposed to. Like you can still be like do you support the United States? You would have to say yeah. Maybe he wouldn't. And like the United States has done horrible things. You can argue in some ways maybe we're still doing horrible things. Like, but.
Utility-wise worse, but it depends on what they would then do if they had power. That's a little bit.
Yeah, this and I think probably why is it just comes to a complete disconnect in like reality with how this conflict works. The problem is that like America is not enabling Israel to do anything in Gaza. Like, you understand that, right? You understand that what enables Israel in Gaza is the fact that there's another military on the other side that has never said they're going to give up and literally tried to kill as many Jews as possible in Israel on October 7th and said they want to do it again and said if you give us any breathing room, if you give us any space to rebuild our forces, we will do the same thing again. That's what's enabling Israel to keep bombing Gaza. It's the fact that there's literally another fucking army on the other side that's trying to destroy the entire country that does not want to stop fighting. So America can say, stay within the rules of war, and they can, people like Biden can pressure Israel to send more aid into the Gaza Strip, and they can do things like they can make sure that there's an evacuation in Rafah.
Sales to say, hey, you guys are going too far.
Yeah, you can say stop weapon sales, and some countries did do that. But then obviously, if you stop weapon sales, then what you're also doing is you're stopping your leverage. For one, I don't know why.
What's the point of leverage if we're not using it? I don't understand.
Well, America does use the leverage.
Yeah.
Biden used leverage. Israel did things they did not want to do. The government of Netanyahu did not want to pause before going into Rafah. He wanted to go in with no plan to evacuate the million plus people who were living there.
Really bad.
Netanyahu did want to use 2,000 pound bombs that Biden froze. He did want to use 500-pound bombs that Biden froze.
Where's that gotten us, though? Like, is the consequence of how bad it's gone now?
Where's that gotten us? Where's that gotten us? This is like the number one. This is a stats problem I've always complained about for people. How do I? Where's my taskbar? This is a very difficult thing for like human people to understand. It's very frustrating. Is you'll have a situation, and the situation will look like this. Where we'll be going like this, and then you'll make a big you'll impact it somehow, right? And it'll go from this to this, and people will be like, well, it seems like nothing happened, huh? It's still getting worse, isn't it? Oh, you think this is good? Actually, it's worse than it was before. And it's like, well, we're talking about like a rate of change, right? This is like the lack of like understanding. Like, sure, the situation isn't good, and in some ways the situation is still bad, but it's like that doesn't mean that nothing happened. That doesn't mean there wasn't a change here, Like, people still die in car accidents even though we have seatbelts, but that's not an argument against seatbelts.
Now, like, that much different than if we had said, hey, we're using all of our leverage right now in one big fell swoop. Like, I'm not quite sure what the alternative history that we'd be looking at is if we had decided to try to stop arms sales like 4 months into this. Then now,
if America stopped arms sales, which particular arms does America give Israel that you're like most upset about?
I'm not specifically upset about any. I'm saying we give weapons and money, and we should.
The answer is I don't even know anything about anything, but okay.
Should they stop giving Israel JDAMs?
I don't know if they give them JDAMs.
Okay, should they stop giving Israel like guided? The problem is,
why are we? I don't know if this is like a gotcha, like hyper-focus on a specific thing. I'm just saying we could have used our leverage earlier, and I'm not quite sure what would have happened had we.
The reason why Loner is asking, oh my God, this is so annoying, is because you're saying we should have used our leverage earlier, and it's like, do you even know what we give them? I actually don't know anything at all about it, but we should have done it earlier. All of politics is like you don't even know what the thing was. So how can you say we should have done more or less of it? How to bring Walter back? What? Hold on, I'm looking for a scene. Great movie. We've never seen this before, by the way. I think he's just giving this criticism because Salier wants him to shit on Mozart because he hates Mozart, and the King Prince guy is like, he doesn't know enough about music, obviously. But it's like, if you think that America's not using its leverage well, what are we not using our leverage on? And you don't even know what's being leveraged or what any of the underlying things are. So it's such like a meaningless criticism, or the emperor, whatever.
Like, it doesn't seem like our leverage was all that useful up until now. You're saying
like, why do you say that when you don't even know anything about anything? I just don't know why people feel like they have to have the opinion on it. Whatever.
Okay, do you think they should stop
weapons and
giving
money, and we should
they stop giving Israel JDAMs?
I don't know if they give them JDAMs.
Okay, should they stop giving Israel like guided? The problem is,
why are we? I don't know if this is like a gotcha, like hyper-focus on a specific thing. I'm just saying we could have used our leverage earlier, and I'm not quite sure what would have happened had we. Like, it doesn't seem like our leverage was all that useful up until now. You're saying like, well, there was a red line here, there was a red line there, they crossed it eventually, but like, did this really change ultimately the consequences of what happened in Gaza to the point of like, well, it would have been way worse had we not done this. Maybe
it would have been way worse if they tried to go into Rafah. There were 1 million people that were living within like fucking. Like 2,000 square feet or whatever. There were like 1 million people in tents. If they would have done that invasion before having all those people go north, you could have seen bomb drops with like 10,000 people evaporated. That could have been like a crazy horrible situation. That was one of the reasons why that it had to be, you had to escort most of those people, let them leave north before doing that invasion. It would have been crazy.
Would have been way worse faster. Maybe they would have capitulated a little bit and said, oh, well, maybe we can't go as hard as we can. I mean, I'd like to see evidence for either of those examples, but...
Yeah, okay, so for one thing, I really would prefer that Israel use guided munitions, which are more expensive and does entail some American funding, as opposed to just using fucking, dumb bombs and using unguided munitions that are just much more much cheaper.
But what if we could stop them from doing that altogether with our leverage? I don't know.
You cannot stop it. I don't know why Israel's the only country people say you cannot stop a country from fighting with people who want to kill them all. You can't do it. At the end of the day,
we do this all the time.
America.
What are you talking about? We could. That's how we form peace plans between warring countries. There's like
You
civil
form
wars
peace
that we
plans
start.
when-
Like what?
Yeah, you form peace plans like when the other side of the conflict is willing to come to the table and agree to something that is actually realistic. So the PLO, well, yeah, America helped there because they helped the PLO agree to get out of Lebanon, and then Israel didn't continue in Lebanon until the PLO were destroyed, the quote unquote the hard way. But Hamas are still to this day, they're still just demanding, we'll warehouse our weapons, maybe. We won't, but you'll have no way of knowing if we've done all of it, and we'll only do it after Israel leaves the entire strip. So there's literally no force there that can actually hold us accountable to our disarmament. But yeah, Hamas have made sure that
America could solve Israel-Palestine with their leverage. I agree. I mean, no one's been able to do that in decades. I'm saying like maybe we could have stopped the.
And we'll only do it after Israel leaves the entire strip. So there's literally no force there that can actually hold us accountable to our disarmament. But yeah, Hamas have made sure that
America could solve Israel-Palestine with their leverage. I agree. I mean, no one's been able to do that in decades. I'm saying like maybe we could have stopped the starvation tactics. Maybe we could have stopped some of the worst war crimes. Like there are plenty of things that could have happened here. That doesn't mean, hey, if America had just stopped arms sales, it would be a peaceful, happy-go-lucky place with Trump Gaza #1 strip hotels. Like I'm not implying that. I'm saying that we did not effectively use the leverage, and the people that are criticizing people who aren't making those votes are.
Yeah, but just to tie this back into how this came up. You were asked, and this is to you, SoyPill, you were asked whether you're okay with sharing a party with people like Hillary Clinton and Slotkin, who are
like
okay
Hillary,
with
am I
giving
right?
funds and arms to Israel, right? Or at least to some extent. And then you were asked, okay, are you also okay with being in a party or being in a political coalition with someone who thinks Hezbollah is based, right? And things like that. You made the comparison that these were similar, right, in nature, right? And that one has more of a stigma than the other. And that's why we're being talking about this now, I think. So I just wanted to ground.
But it sounds like SoyPill is not. But it sounds like SoyPill is not actually too sure on whether one is more destructive than the other, right?
That's why. Yeah, that's why.
Because at least the Hezbollah supporter might freeze all of Israel's arms, and that somehow would reduce the suffering more than the pro-Hezbollah guy. Is that roughly what you're getting at?
No, I was trying to say which is worse in terms of like, yeah, if we remove all of the stigma of like, I know this is ridiculous to say, but like of a person's like, oh, I love Hezbollah. It's like, okay, like which of these persons supports the worst act? People that are willing to continue to enable Israel to do what they're doing in Gaza are causing more death and harm. But that doesn't mean like, if they're supporting.
Wait, does Soy not know anything about this conflict? Nobody knows anything about the conflict. Welcome to Israel-Palestine being the #1 issue that progressives or that DSA commie types have made it over the past 2 years without literally knowing fucking anything about it.
They're not supporting terrorists, but it's like, okay, now we're getting to the argument of like, what is a terrorist? If the contention is, okay, but could the people that do support Israel this way or aren't willing to fund or to vote against arms shipments, would they not have been able to stop said things? Therefore, they're not actually in support of all of the death and destruction that's happening in Gaza. I think that's a different argument, and I'm not.
Okay, that would be a really clever argument if Hezbollah were not as destructive as they are. I guess maybe we don't know, but like Hezbollah in Syria helped Assad for the entirety of the war. I think maybe within the first year of the war, Hezbollah were in the Syrian armed forces, plugging gaps, filling up upper positions because they had more experience, helping them with logistical issues, and actually taking a pretty useless, corrupt army and turning them into a fighting force that helped Assad get rid of the rebels and consolidate power. And
you talk about this in the context of, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. What I'm saying is you talk about this in the context of people that think it's not Hezbollah just is super cool, but Hezbollah is cool when they bomb Israel, right? Which is like, okay, I think that's disgusting that these people think that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but you're asking me to compare this to people who are like, I'm not going to do anything when Israel does something to Gaza. That's
okay. What does Hezbollah do for Lebanon then?
He has nobody has any idea, or maybe he will on this. I don't know.
Hezbollah murders political opponents in Lebanon. Hezbollah goes into villages and even into the capital and goes into people's houses and goes into civilian areas. And
Israel does this in the
I know.
right now.
We're talking about who causes the harm. And the fact is, there is no Israeli destruction in Lebanon if Hezbollah stops shooting at Israel. It's very, very simple. Israel and Lebanon after the 48 war did not really fight barely ever until the PLO were there. So if Lebanon doesn't attack Israel, Lebanon doesn't get attacked, really, apart from like a dozen Fedayeen or something. Same thing with Gaza. If you pull all American arms from Gaza, then what you're doing is there's no more prospect of any Democrat being able to twist their arm and say, oh, you have to do this or that, otherwise we're going to freeze this weapon shipment, or we will freeze this weapon shipment because you didn't do this.
Have you ever done this? Like,
yes, Democrats have done
actually
that.
effectively like changed their prescriptions and
you're an American exceptionalist, SoyPill. You think America has more power over this conflict than they do. The fact is that no amount of American arm twisting or arms freezes or threats or finger wagging is going to stop a country from fighting a militant group that is trying to kill them all. The people who enable
it would stop the war. I said it would necessarily stop them with their worst actions potentially, and like the fact that we're not even doing that is like saying something, right?
Well,
I think I missed it, but thank you.
Israel's initial plan was to not even send aid into Gaza. The Biden administration had to convince them to do that quicker than they were actually planning to. They were going to probably, and again, that's like that was a matter of weeks difference potentially getting it. We know the difference as well because look at the difference even between Biden and Trump. We know that those 2,000-pound bombs and those 500-pound bombs, like hundreds or even thousands of them, those shipments were immediately renewed by Trump when they were frozen by Biden, and then they were dropped on Gazan buildings. We know that when it comes to humanitarian aid, the GHF happened under Trump. And remember, the one time the IPC decided that it was actually time to call it a famine in Gaza, the one time the UN was willing to say that was under Trump with the GHF, and that was when you started to actually see with the health ministry publishing these dozens of people every week who would starve to death with because they couldn't get aid. That was a difference that happened under Trump. But we're assuming that there's like a version of this war where Hamas has put 500 kilometers kilometers of tunnel all the way through the Gaza Strip has basically turned the entire place into a fucking war zone, into an urban war machine. And we're expecting that there's a nice way to do this war that Democrats can convince Israelis to do. Yeah, maybe the Biden administration could have done more, but if you want to achieve that, then there could maybe be an activist group that instead of going uncommitted Holocaust Harris and wearing fucking keffiyehs and waving around fucking Hezbollah flags, they could have said, we have some conditions, make your arms shipments conditional on this, this, and this, and this that's actually feasible, rather than this, well, America has the power to end the war, America has the power to just turn this into, I guess, one of the nice wars. That's
You're arguing against like 6 different positions, not all of which I take, and I'm a little like, that was like a whole like Lonerbox Israel spiel, but what I said was, hey, I think there's entirely many things that could be done with leveraging
Which notes? There's just too many notes.
our power, and like these small little caveats here and here are ultimately not making a big difference to the Gazans, and the idea that we can like make some big push of like, hey, we're going to stop all arms shipments, that doesn't mean.
Do you believe the U.S. president being good is what keeps Israel from not committing a full-on genocide? No, I don't think they would. Anyway, I don't think the Israeli population, I don't think would necessarily bear that. But I'm sure that it has encouraged the country to act better than they would have otherwise. Like, they could have been way more unhinged.
I mean, the war ends tomorrow.
Maybe in a very, 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 very roundabout way. In the long way. Maybe at the end of the day, this, I guess, sounds, now it's not even the pro-genocide argument. Maybe that would be better, because then if the Palestinians knew that Israel was going to go full sicko mode, maybe then there wouldn't be as much appetite for the terrorist attacks and Hezbollah to be insane and all that shit. Maybe they're like, okay, actually, maybe this is not serving us well.
Tomorrow, but it's like you yourself are talking about, hey, look, Biden was able to do some of these things were better for Gaza and ultimately didn't affect much because these weren't giant leverages. We didn't leverage the entirety of weapon shipments. We did small little caveats here, small little caveats here, and even those were still marginally better. But like, isn't that to the point that we could be doing way more with a giant arms embargo then?
Okay, for one,
I want to take that one. I want to take. How do you imagine a giant arms embargo would go?
I don't know what the point of like me saying let's go through this hypothetical.
Because he doesn't know anything about the issue. Like, I'm pretty sure what would happen is if we were to just cut off Israel, which I think is what a lot of the far right wants us to do, Israel would just go full sicko mode. That's it. They would start fucking killing like crazy, because now there was no reason to not do that at all, basically, as much as their population would allow, which, depending on what terrorist attack just recently happened, might be a lot more than what the U.S. population or the U.S. president would want to happen.
So like, I assume that, Lonerbox, correct me if I'm wrong, we do this, let's say we have the votes for it, we cut off all the arms. Israel says, oh, okay, you might do this, and we'll capitulate if you don't, to whatever some demands you have. Like, maybe we need to put more aid in. Maybe we have to stop these like starvation tactics. Maybe we have to make it so whichever third-party organizations who've declared this a genocide, whatever criteria those have been met, like we have to stop doing the things that are meeting these criteria. This would make it marginally better or significantly better. And if they don't, then they just go do whatever they want, I guess, and it becomes worse because they're using bigger bombs. Is this kind of like how this hypothetical is exactly?
Yeah, that is exactly what happened, because it's not a hypothetical. That's exactly what you did in Yugoslavia.
What do you say to people who say, oh, so if we didn't give them guns, they would be more genocidal? You're proving my point. What? I don't understand how that... Do I need to dumb myself down to... Like, the reason why Israel can tolerate as much terrorism as they can is because of how armed and prosperous the nation is. If the nation were to be less armed or less prosperous, then instead of being able to receive rockets on the daily from the Gaza Strip, they wouldn't be able to, and they would just have to start blowing shit up like crazy.
In 1992, you just said, okay, arms embargo, no more weapons go in until you guys have figured it out. And
Serbia or Albania, or what do you mean?
To everyone. You told it to the Serbs, the Bosnians, and the Croatians that arms embargo on all of you. No one gets weapons. Didn't end the war. The war got worse as a result of the arms embargo. Arms embargo, what you did in Yugoslavia in 1992. You just said, okay, arms embargo, no more weapons go in until you guys have figured it out. And
Serbia or Albania, or what do you mean?
To everyone. You told it to the Serbs, the Bosnians, and the Croatians that arms embargo on all of you. No one gets weapons. Didn't end the war. The war got worse as a result of the arms embargo.
I would have to look into this more specifically, but it's a lot more complicated because we like sent our troops in and like affected the war significantly, right? But was that
you sent your troops in 1994 as a reaction to the genocide when the Serbs started bulldozing the Bosnians into mass graves?
Right.
Okay, for one,
I think they did try arms embargoes. I think it didn't work. I think the final solution on that one was basically Clinton was like, you guys need to figure your shit out, and whoever doesn't, you're going to get your shit pushed in. And the Serbs obviously didn't, and then we came and we pushed their shit in. I think that's what finally stopped the. I think is my, but I don't like in great detail how it worked.
I think just a couple of small differences. I mean, 2,000 pound bombs, or 1,800 of them specifically, and 1,700 500 pound bombs.
Some people say that if the U.S. is holding them back by giving them support, then Israel's actually evil, and we should be acting against Israel instead of merely holding them back. Oh, I don't know. That's retarded. That's because these people have no idea what Hezbollah and Hamas are like. A lot of these people think that because they're brain poisoned by the dipshit lefties on the internet, that like Hamas and Hezbollah are like these brave freedom fighters who just want to carve out like a little slice of life. They just want like peaceful Palestinian farmers to be able to graze their cows on the lands of milk and honey, and then that's it. But like they don't understand the war is like for some of these parties is like existential. Yeah.
Are not actually small differences. Trump, when he came into office, Israel froze aid shipments into Gaza for 3 months, okay? It was like 2 weeks in one area of Gaza under Biden, okay? The difference between 3 months of no food and 14 days, come on, it's an enormous difference. The difference between evacuating Rafah of 1 million plus people before you go in to attack the place is an enormous difference. If you're gonna know what would happen, do you know which faction in Israel wants America to stop?
I'm confused. So first of all,
right.
So the implication.
He can't engage with any of this. He doesn't know anything about this. So I don't know. I don't know why Loner's even, unless it's to prove a point. Like he'll never. I'm pretty sure it's the far right people that want America to just fuck off entirely.
Hold on. I'm gonna give you the mic, SoyPill. But we are. I do want to get this back onto anti-Semitism at some point. But this is useful information. $100 from Slicky D to say liberalism is not optional. True. 1,000 ARS, which is like $10, I think. I don't know. Hunter Biden 2028. Fair enough. $5 from Bad Company. Spiel equals the reality. I love how SoyPill can just refuse to engage with the facts. LOL.
Got me. Does he?
$5 from OV959. Wick. Can anyone on this panel try to restate SoyPill's position? It's always, I am not saying that. Let's give it to Lonerbox. Can you restate SoyPill's position? I'm curious.
On this question about whether you could share a movement with the pro-Hezbollah guy or the Slotkin guy.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems to be that Slotkin is in this position where she says that she condemns Netanyahu and she thinks there should be some arms twisting here and there, but she's not going to do an arms embargo, and that means she might even, as a utilitarian, potentially be enabling more suffering than the pro-Hezbollah person who would do an arms embargo.
Yeah,
is that an accurate representation?
Okay. Who in Israel do you think...
If Israel should be going hard against Hezbollah anyway, why hold them back then? Well, because there's probably going to be a fuck ton of civilian collateral damage if they just start going full fucking crazy against... because there's probably going to be a lot of collateral damage for civilians in Lebanon. Can an anti-war society even form in Palestine if the population is so young and growing up with war as the norm? Can we expect them to accept peace with the conditions they're subjected to? I know that you think you're like making really good points right now, but like every single question you have, you should just flip it on Israel, and then you'll get a little bit closer to having an actual understanding of this conflict rather than the one-sided pro-Pally slop you've been fed online. Like, can you expect Israelis to want peace with the society when every single time they pull back from any area, they immediately get a rabid militant organization they're trying to kill them? After they left, after the first Lebanon war, they got Hezbollah there that was literally foreign funded by Iran, and nobody around the world seems to give a fuck. After they pulled out of the Gaza Strip, they got Hamas more militarized than ever. Nobody around the world seems to give a fuck. Like this is a repeated pattern that's happened over and over again. So I mean, like, why would you expect the Jewish people in Israel to think any different as well?
Wants to separate from America most. What faction? It's the right wing. It's those people, yeah. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because Israel does not need American weapons to kill every person in Gaza, right? Carpet bombing is not expensive, which is why, like, the Tokyo firebombing or the firebombing of Dresden, which killed like tens of thousands or hundreds of people in the space of a couple of days. These were done with like Lancaster bombers and B-29s and cheap bombs that don't have incredibly expensive guidance chips inside them. Israel has the bombs. What they struggle with maybe, or with American technology, is the guidance systems, the Iron Dome, the drones where you can have a small munition that takes out like 4 soldiers and not the 10 people who are within a few meters of them. Like, that's what Israel gets from America. That's like the special technology that American-Israeli cooperation gets. As soon as America stops with arms to Israel, then people like Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu, that's the leash off. There's no more fucking grumpy Democrats going to come in and start like twisting our arm to do things. Well, okay, everyone's calling it genocide anyway. Maybe we can actually just fucking do one right now.
At that point, would we not say, okay, not only are we reducing arms, we're also going to sanction you for being even more genocidal and using these indiscriminate bombs and just killing civilians?
Here we go. Shouldn't we go to war then and do a regime change war? This is the most hilarious position that like the lefty takes. I don't know if he's going to say that. Maybe he won't say that. I'm just rambling for nothing. But it's like, hold on. Of all the fucked regimes in the Middle East, we have to do a regime change war again on Israel? That's the one that has you more triggered than anybody else over there? More than Assad did? More than the Houthis in Yemen do? Really?
Like in mass, like it was World War II. Like, yeah, like there are other things that would happen after this, but the idea that our leverage stops at the weapons is not really salient to me.
America
we don't give weapons to Russia. We have leverage over Russia right now. We're sanctioning the fuck out of their economy, right?
No. Wait, what? We literally have so much trouble having leverage over Russia. That's why they're still at war 3 years later.
And what's Russia do? They're continuing to do more damage, and they're doing it actually in a much more indiscriminate way than Israel.
So would they do it less if we sent them arms and said, all right, like we'll give you the best ones and we'll take away the best ones if you like this? Like this doesn't really apply, right?
It depends on which arms. So if the arms are just like the weight of bombs, like 2,000-pound bombs or 500-pound bombs, yeah, I'm for freezing those. But if it's like guidance systems, so that they can actually accurately target, and like say there's a target in Israel, it's like, okay, they're saying there's a Hamas commander who's in this building, we're doing it with or without.
To Russia so they could kill fewer civilians because
why would
they're literally. I'm not saying we should actually do this. It's fucking insane.
What SoyPill here is saying, to translate, SoyPill is saying that the argument you're making is that we, by giving them the guidance systems, we actually decrease the harm done and things like that. So why?
Sorry for pacing again. Why would SoyPill agree to this convo? Like Loner, Kraut leagues ahead in terms of knowledge. Did he just expect one on rhetoric or optics alone? Yeah, because Americans have like these terms in their head, like ethno-state, bad, immigration, bad, or immigration restriction, bad, and genocide, bad, and Israel genocide, and Israel ethno-state. And then they think they can just like argue it on those terms, basically.
Why not
Like, it's
give
so
Russia
simple.
the guidance system so they could kill less civilians in Ukraine? That's
Because Russia has
an ally.
means.
Russia is not
also,
an ally.
no. It's more because one, Russia like will literally aim past the military and past the front line towards
intentionally
cities.
target civilians, right?
Yes,
So it's like
okay.
giving them
And
more
Israel,
accurate bombs is irrelevant. Israel does this too.
You think Israel's targeting civilians randomly?
Not just targeting civilians; they absolutely target civilians on purpose. I've read several articles about like, hey, like there's no other explanation as to.
So like if this is the case, then I mean, what the fuck then? At that point we should just go to war with Israel. Like if you really believe this to be the case, then we should just do nothing, right? We should either go to war with Israel or just cut off our relationship with them completely because they're clearly fucking like completely insane. No, like if this is your position.
No,
Why
yes,
they did this thing, other
I
than
understand.
they were
Yes,
intentionally targeting
no,
civilians.
yes, I understand. Yes, and UN reports have been saying this for decades, and then a year or 2 years after the war, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and they're to solve their own internal political problems, will say, actually, yeah, those police officers that the Goldstone report said were all civilian. Actually, the majority of them were our soldiers. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that's what happened.
Because of that specific article, we're implying this has never happened.
This always
never
happened, in the sense that
happened.
like
Every single civilian targeting is all fake from Hamas. Is that what
that's
you're saying?
exactly
Thank you, Casello, for the 10 subs. Thank you.
that's exactly what I said. No,
It sounds like what you're implying. If it's not, please correct me.
Okay, so what actually happens is that going to Gaza and just calling some people, first of all, Hamas actually have like a public, I can show you as well, they have like a public announcement at the beginning of the war where they say, and they've said in the past, that if you are a local Gazan and you get contacted by an org or by someone from the outside, you have to refer that to the authorities. And they also have instructions saying, do not say this, do not say there were militants, do not say where the resistance operating from, say everyone who died if there's casualties was an innocent civilian. If you say otherwise, UN officials have literally been booted out of Gaza for saying the opposite. So you can't just go to a random fucking Gazan. Were there militants in that building across the road? Because if they say yes, they're going to get executed, or they're going to have their entire life fucking destroyed, or they get hunted down by Hamas. It's not a good methodology, and the UN
What
just keeps doing
percentage of the
it.
80,000 dead people are Hamas?
I don't know, and you don't know either, but we're talking about whether or not Israel targets.
What percentage do you think? Oh, you should ask him! Bonerbox should have asked him. What percentage do you think? We don't know that number. Don't you think that's a problem? Do you think 100% of them are civilians? That every single person killed is a civilian? Probably not all of them, right? What percentage do you think?
Civilians. So when we're saying, I don't doubt that they have hit civilians, I don't doubt that soldiers or criminals within the IDF have targeted civilians, but the question is whether or not as a matter of policy, the IDF is just like from the top down saying there's a building there, civilian. Okay, so when you say they're targeting civilians, do you think that what you're just saying there's some war criminals in the IDF that are disobeying their own rules?
There are, a non-insignificant amount of war crimes committed either by,
It's always this like weasel, a non-insignificant amount of war crimes. Like, what? Okay.
higher-ups who are like sergeants or like even like the lowest people. And when these sorts of things happen, the responsibility is always obfuscated of, well, there's no order for this to happen, or yeah, that guy did that, but we didn't punish him, and it's just something we overlooked, or that was an accident. Like, these are civilians being targeted. And then when the UN or any of these people come in and say, hey, like the policies that you have are deliberately targeting men, women, and children, civilians, starving men, women, and children, civilians, like I guess maybe in 10 years we'll come out and hear, actually, this was all just made up by Hamas. But I'm a little more inclined to believe these like independent human rights organizations than I am like, what organization is disputing this other than Israel and the US?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is I just don't really know how many years we have to watch these international orgs fuck up until we just admit that they actually aren't that reliable in these situations. Like, they've literally fabricated or like believed fabricated
what's your
evidence. They've
counter
literally
evidence to this other than Israel? Like, right, like you're believing like Israel doesn't let the reporters in, so it's like the only people you have to say, well,
Oh, I can't believe it. It was Finkelstein that said this. That was like based, although he came to the exact opposite conclusion. For the issue with the UN stuff when it comes to Israel, I don't know, for whatever fucking reason, is that their legal conclusions are usually really, really, really bad. But the fact gathering is usually really good. But you have to actually read the reports, which is such a fucking slog. But the thing is like when you read the reports and then you look at how they've gathered the facts and you look at how they've come to their conclusions, then you can say like, okay, this seems kind of retarded. I don't know why this would be the position of the UN given the facts that they've gathered. But the issue is the conclusions on some of these reports will be so wacky.
well, this isn't true as Israel, right?
Well, can I ask you just
I find that incredulous just on the basis of like, okay,
It would be incredulous if that was my
the people who are
opinion.
being
It would be-
accused of the thing, or all of these people from independent nations who are saying, hey, based on the evidence and our scholars of what constitutes genocide and what constitutes war crimes, hey, these are the things that are being genocidal, and this country has genocidal intent. And yes, I admit Smotrich and Gavir, they're in the government and they are in charge and they are genocidal and fascist. And if we didn't give them weapons, they would be bombing even more people. And if Joe Biden didn't have this leverage, they'd kill millions with even more carpet bombing. But they don't target civilians. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
Again, the fact that you just said carpet bombing is betraying the fact that you have no fucking idea what you're talking
You
about.
said it. You said carpet bombing. You
I didn't
talked
say
about
that.
it like it was in
I
Dresden.
said carpet bombing in Dresden, but it's not happening in Gaza. That's not
You were
carpet bombing.
comparing it to that. You were comparing it like this is what would happen
wasn't
had Joe
comparing
Biden
it.
not used his leverage. You said if we
Okay.
didn't give them these things, this is what they would be doing. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like they clearly wanted to be doing these even more genocidal civilian targeting things. Like, this is what I'm saying.
Well, I know that people like Ben Gavir might want to do that, but again, when it comes to, first of all, when you say all the human rights orgs and all the scholars, first of all, you are exaggerating like the multiplicity of sources there. They are all taking from the same source. They all use the same methodology. All they can do is call the
quote
IDF. The
them.
IDF will say nothing, or they'll say militants, but they're not going to share their intelligence with a fucking UN org. Like, no country would do that. And then second of all, they go to Gaza and then they just ask some people, and they ask people who are living in an authoritarian regime under the thumb of Hamas, and they'll literally fucking die if they admit that there was a militant in a strike next to them. So that's all the scholars, all the organizations, all the, they're all the, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
This is the most annoying thing is when they were trying, I don't remember which, this might have had to do with in 2014 after it was at Cast Lead, that like the UN will say that like we surveyed some people and the people said that they were just civilians living in homes and they were getting bombed and killed. But when you actually read the report itself, sometimes it's like blatant. Like they'll say like we tried to interview so many people and the vast majority of people refused to talk to us. But then when we get an escort from somebody from like the Gazan Health Ministry or whatever, then we were able to get connected with the person who will talk to us, and then they told us what they thought about it. And it's like, that's a little bit sus, but like the report will say that, and it'll be like, well, that's okay. Well, I feel like that would significantly alter my opinion. Holy Crimson, thank you for the 20 tier 4 gifted subs.
Fly that you're the one who's like, figured it out.
Is it
I don't know what to do. We love
just real quick. I want to ask Bill. I want to ask Lonerbox this: is it anti-Semitic that SoyPill is sweeping for these organizations that you claim are fabricating evidence? Is that anti-Semitism?
No.
He didn't claim they were fabricating, right? You said they were misled by the authoritarian press.
I'm saying that they literally have no way of getting like the truth of the matter, and they just conclude anyway. And they even admit this. They'll just say, well, if there's doubt, we'll just say civilian until we're proven otherwise. And then we just have to, because literally when we count the dead, we are only doing it on Hamas's terms. So the reason that I know, for example, when Amnesty said this strike on the Al-Dus family killed like 15 people and destroyed this building, and there was no evidence of any military target anywhere.
Oh, I read this exact one. I remember reading through this report. None of that, they couldn't get like interviews with almost anybody except for one person that I think there was that the Gazan, was it the Gazan Health Ministry? Connected them to, because it was like supposedly it was a family who were just living there, and then two went to go out and get lumber, and then Israel bombed the house for no reason. But then I think Israel released information or showed information that was like, this is literally used. I don't remember if it was for weapon storage or if the people were carrying like rocket launchers instead of like wood lumber or whatever. But I think I remember exactly the which one he's referring to here. Yeah.
This strike on the Al-Dus family killed like 15 people and destroyed this building, and there was no evidence of any military target anywhere. The fact is, like, they put out the report, and I just have to wait for 2 years until Islamic Jihad starts publishing a drip feed of their dead commanders. Like, oh, one of that guys called Al-Dus. Oh, he died in the same place on the same day. Oh, he was actually in that strike. Shit. Oh well. Yeah. Like we literally are just doing it on their terms. Right?
I guess you don't have to listen to what Israel released, but I think Israel at the time had released more information about that strike. Yeah.
Could have hidden that information forever, and we would always just civilian by these human rights watch standards. So that's one issue. The second one is just to say that it doesn't seem like we disagree that war crimes are taking place in Israel and that they have and that they've happened. It's just the question about like there's only so many war crimes that the U.S. government can stop by doing arms embargoes or by twisting Israel's arm. I don't understand why we think that America can stop all this from happening. That's
so you were talking about how Biden used what people would criticize as like paltry or like.
It's hard to trust Israel on anything when there was clearly a top-down conspiracy to lie to the U.S., to lie the U.S. into the Iran war. That's worse than any potential lie in Gaza. For what? I mean, not really, but kind of, but maybe. But the thing is that like, this is, I don't know, I'm trying to have a big boy conversation here. This is so well embodied by what you just said. When Kramer is talking to Jon Stewart, it's not on YouTube, is it? And Kramer says something to Jon Stewart where Kramer was like, Kramer says, he's like, well, I bring these guys on and I interview these business leaders and they'll lie to me right to my face. And then Jon Stewart repeats back to them, the CEOs of the companies are lying to you about how good their companies are. And then the audience laughs because it's such an obviously stupid point. Now, should anybody be trying to mislead the United States to get us involved in foreign affairs? Absolutely not. And fuck Netanyahu for doing that. But also, this is why you have leaders. This is why you have a president who has a whole cabinet full of people that can inform him on what's going on. You would expect whoever comes to try to play up their side as much as possible because they want you to be involved in the thing. It's up to you to figure that out. Fuck Netanyahu for dragging us into this, but also fuck Trump for not being a normal-ass fucking leader who can see through somebody's bullshit.
Insignificant or insufficient leverage to do, you would say, significant things like, like we stopped bigger bombs from coming in. We stopped the 3 months worth of like aid being stopped. And the idea that we couldn't do even more by trying to leverage all of our shipments at once, I just don't buy that is some like frivolous, futile task that we could do.
They could have done, but the issue with politics is you have to make them do it. You have to make the government do it, and you have to have an activist group that's willing to actually be smart and to use that pressure and to achieve those things. But instead, they just seem to be quite happy to throw the election for Trump to come in. So they didn't seem to care all that much that Harris lost.
Okay, but now when we're talking about the party, like this all came back from like, who are you more comfortable being in a coalition with? Like, I'm very comfortable being a coalition of people who are willing to say, I want to stop Israel from doing what they're doing. I want to form a coalition in the House or the Senate and try to make this vote happen. If we're talking about, people are like, oh my God, like, a fucking politician who's up there like, God, I love Hezbollah. Yeah, I'd be pretty fucking scared. But that's also because the status quo being like, Israel, like, comes to me in my dreams and I love everything they're doing is like not nearly so bad. Yeah. Saying like, oh, I love Hezbollah. So
you think it's just like it's a silly status quo? Like it's just because we just believe that terrorism bad, Muslim terrorism bad, that we just seem to think it's worse than Hezbollah does it?
Terrorism is fucking disgusting and awful. It's good that we recognize this as evil. I'm saying the things that we are used to that we do, when you look at like any of and all of our policies that are like, well, we've done this forever, and that's why people don't necessarily oppose it. Like to come in and say like, let me be a preachy vegan for a second. If I support the politician was like, let's fucking like make it like fascism illegal to eat meat, right? Like we're committing this, like mass killings of animals 24/7 all the time, tens of millions, if not billions of animals, and it's like, do I view like you Lonerbox, who I assume is not a vegan, as just as bad as someone who wants to just like the Hezbollah support? No, but that's because of the status quo. It's not because I don't think one is worse. That's what I'm saying there. Like I think what Israel's doing is worse, but I think the degree to which we support them, the degree to which we have this relationship and back and forth, the degree to which Israel is not like just randomly doing suicide bombings, that is not doing like these frivolous attacks like October 7th, which is like, what did this really accomplish, right? Like that is the status quo built in of like, okay, utility wise this might be worse, but like they're not doing the same types of bad things that we condemn far worse.
Okay, so for one, I just
people in as well. I mean, I feel like right, but this is good. Keep going, Lonerbox.
Yeah. Okay. So the fact is that when it comes to Hezbollah, like the reason, well, for one, every single strike they ever do and have done is indiscriminate. They fire rockets they can't aim.
Yep.
So when it comes to the morality,
Should we
just
give
because
them
they have
bombs?
No, because what do you think their goal is? That's why we don't make the argument for Russia either. Because with Israel, at the very least, I don't think you would deny this. It is actually probably a good thing to try and destroy Hamas. No or yes?
Yes, but it's
okay, that's fine.
That if you're going to blow up Gaza to the degree we have, I would say no.
Okay, so at least though, at the very least, even if I go all your way and say that they destroyed Hamas, but they also went on this little side quest of just bombing random civilian houses for no reason, just make them happy. Let's say they did that, and then they actually want
for no reason. Well, don't strawman me. It's not for no reason. It's because the government and a lot of people who are even the Zionist project, they cannot be safe if these people exist in their territory, and they want to make it all Israel, right? They want to kill off all the Gazans. They want to ethnically cleanse the West Bank and get rid of all that with their illegal settlements. It's not for no reason. It's hey, we are destroying and discouraging this population from existing where they like think is their land. Like it's not for no reason.
Okay,
why are we talking about Israel?
They're just
really
not there. Okay.
Because that's completely not what this conversation was about. Like this is the most.
Yeah, sorry. I feel like we are leaving the people out, but we can bring it back.
I'll just do the last thing.
Every single conversation about anti-Semitism ever just completely always has to devolve into this topic, and we can't talk about the fact that there is actually real anti-Semitism on the rise throughout Western politics. We're confronted with it almost every day by now.
Wait,
I'll just respond to that.
Wait,
it's great. I want to say it's great that you two can have this conversation, and you should have this conversation. Maybe you can have it here at Wix panel. I don't know the next time, or maybe you can have it on one of your channels. But you see what I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't help.
Get off. Yeah. Loner, when you respond,
it's not just obfuscation to that.
I'll let
based on my
Lonerbox
opinions, am I anti-Semitic? No. I'll stop responding about the Israel. I was just curious, like, has anything that I've said here been anti-Semitic, or is these all like?
No. It took me like 2 years since it took me until like maybe a few months ago, just before I started even calling Hassan anti-Semitic. I have a pretty high bar. I think what you're saying is largely ignorant, but it's like it's not anti-Semitic. Just to cap it off, it's like. I was wondering if I want to address that last war claim or not. Just like, it's probably worth mentioning that if they really think they can't be safe, if like there are people living in Gaza and all they've done in the last 3 years is kill 80,000 out of 2.5 million people, that just sounds like a really bad job. I mean, the fact is that the fact is that
well, they just don't want the world to know that they're being genocidal. Has that been true of anybody ever, by the way? The Serbs or in Libya or for Saddam? Like, has any genocidal leader ever been like? Is that a real thing? The careful genocider? I'm curious if that's ever been a thing that's happened. I'm asking, like, since I don't know, maybe there is, I just missed it, but like, it seems like not. My intuition would be probably not. In Serbia, were they trying to like hide it or downplay it? They all try to hide it. Well, I'm sure they don't broadcast it, but I guess actually with mass graves and burying people, they'd kind of try to hide it. I guess maybe sure.
Less than like 20% of Israeli Jews want to annex Gaza. I think less than 35% of them want to annex the West Bank. Like this is a minority opinion even in Israel. Like, the government is not really showing much sign of trying to do this. But if we're going to talk about what would happen if America disconnected from Israel, one, we know the right wingers would be happy because the right wingers in Israel are the ones who. Two, we know that they would have less of a leash in them. And three, they would just be doing the same thing, but with less accurate weapons. They would just use blunt weapons because they do have a just cause in defeating Hamas, and they're just going to have a bunch of fucking crazy right wingers who are willing to take out a fuck ton of civilians while they do it, and they'll do it without America's help.
We're going to keep continuing this debate. If they wanted to kill all of them, only killing 80,000 of them would clearly show they're not doing a good job. But the point is, like,
in 3 years with their firepower, yes,
displacing them, kicking them out, discouraging them, and doing what they can to get away with it. That's
displacing them from one side of Gaza to the other.
Yeah, and then
displacing them from the north to the south, and back to the north, then to the east, and then to the west. So they displaced them from the north to the south, then back from the south up to the north, and then from the east. Is it just like a fucking colonial musical chairs that they're doing, like within the exact same territory?
Whoa.
Is that not displacement?
Or is it maybe it is displacement? But why do you think they're doing it? Why do you think they told people to move from the north to the south? Why do you think they call people and tell them to leave their building before they bomb it?
Well, I mean, no, I'm not pushing back against that. I'm just saying, like, it seems like you're minimizing the effective displacement on those displaced because they weren't displaced that far.
No. He's saying that when you talk about this like displacement, I think it's fair to say that the displacement might be happening because if they weren't moved, then they would all be fucking killed, right? Like, would you really want them all to stay where they're being mass bombed? No?
No, I'm not minimizing it. We're just. Well,
you're saying they're just displaced to the north.
What was SoyPill?
My point is that if they could get away with it, my point was that they would try to get them completely out of Gaza. That's what I'm trying to say.
Honor real quick.
Yeah. Okay. I was saying that in response to SoyPill's claim that they were doing this displacement so that they could claim Gaza for Israel. And if you want to claim Gaza for Israel, I don't really know why you place them from the north of Gaza to the south of Gaza, then from the east and then to the... I don't know why you would do that if you wanted to claim Gaza.
There's steps in between, doing whatever operation you are right now to eventually get them all completely out. But like, yeah, it was like, why didn't they push them all into Egypt on day one? Because that wasn't like part of the logistical plan to do it that way. I'm denying that the people...
You understand that they could have, right? They could have just like bombed the fence at the Egyptian border and then just bombed the side of Rafah that's away from the border.
Yeah, and then dealt with the international consequences of that. I think they don't...
What international consequences?
Are they not dealing with international consequences right now? Or what, like...
The UN tables more resolutions against Israel every other country combined. Like the international community fucking
what does that have to do with whether
despises Israel?
If they bombed a completely separate nation's border and caused them to have a refugee crisis, you don't think this would be like way fucking worse than the backlash they're facing right now?
It would be worse, but what's the rest of the world going to do? It seems like even right now,
the same things we do against countries like Russia, like we would have stricter sanctions.
What are we doing against Russia?
When it's like, holy shit, now you're just bombing Egypt like indiscriminately because you want to make it their problem. Like this is
even now.
Go back to anti-Semitism. This is getting really ridiculous.
Okay. Like, no, great content.
I feel like that. Like you can just say like, I don't know. I can't do the topic. I don't know enough about it. Maybe come back and read. But it's funny how like hand waving is like, this is ridiculous. It's like, well, it's ridiculous because you don't know anything about the topic, right? That's a little bit dismissive for you to say that, you know.
But off topic, right? We got way into the weeds.
Thank you, Cello, for 5 gifted subs in Kick Chat.
This, which is I think telling, but I wanted to again, because there are so many people who have spread so much misinformation about this topic, it does create, in my opinion, a much more anti-Semitic environment. Look, no one has to hate the Jews, in my opinion, to be anti-Semitic,
that's what
right?
You think.
Or at least not to have anti-Semitic outcomes. Like when we talk about like, does he really in his heart of hearts hate the Jews? I think why are we talking about that? What we should be talking about is the rhetoric this person is using, is the way that they're talking about a subject, is the terms that they're using, is the policies they're pushing for or advocating for. Is this going to result in outsized harm to the Jewish people? Yes. And if it is, I think that there is some cause, at least, to suspect maybe this is going to cause anti-Semitic outcomes, which is what actually matters. I don't care what people think in their heart of fucking hearts, right? I don't give a shit. I care about how it's going to affect other people, right? And that's where we got to kind of get into the weeds here. I would posit that the continuous scapegoating of AIPAC, right? Or scapegoating of everything bad that happens to AIPAC, right? Of like, the turning of Zionist into a slur, basically. And all these other things have resulted in harm to the Jewish community. Not just in Israel, but in America, right? You see people who look Jewish, who are just at their fucking like eating out, right? And people will come up to, oh, are you Israeli? And then they'll just grill them, right?
Weird.
On their, like, do you support the genocide that's going on? Like, this is not okay. This is not something we do. We would obviously recognize it as Islamophobic if people came up to Abdul al-Said and forced him to denounce all the actions that any Islamic regime ever did in the country, right? That'd be crazy to do. But for whatever reason, we kind of overlook it when it comes to Jewish people. And that's a problem for me. Anyway, I want to give it to Kraut a little bit to maybe get us back on track and then kind of get back into
I don't know. Kraut's been talking a little too much. What are you doing?
I have been.
Epic.
Sorry for that one. I didn't prepare to talk about Israel. I don't know anything about that topic, the conflict, at least not to the extent that most people who studied that actually do. No, I mean, Wick and I know people who were hounded off the internet, right? Creators. And when you look at how the environment is right now, like, I think a lot of us have to be dealing with Hassan, who basically accuses everyone of being Israeli-backed, Israeli-funded, and is pushing that kind of rhetoric into the mainstream. And we're starting to see it in the mainstream. We all just covered Anna and Cenk Uygur, who are doing the exact same thing. It is harmful. And it is dangerous that they're doing this. And that is what I came here to discuss, because I oppose it and I find it disgusting. I find it horrendous. And it should be called out. And it should be called out more. And every time we do talk about it, we get sidetracked into conversations about Israel. Which, yeah, beggars some questions, I guess.
That's what's so unfortunate about this whole thing is like, I appreciate Loner.
Do you blame Israel for it? Are you one of the people who would blame Israel for that in the long term?
I don't know if you can blame them, but it's like that's the reason this is such a hot topic now. I'm sure, like, at least for, I don't know about Hassan, but like for Anna and Cenk, I bet they probably wouldn't even be talking about this half as much if like what was happening in Israel wasn't happening. It's like kind of hard to disentangle these things, and like why this whole conversation is frustrating is because every and all anti-Semitic attacks that are coming that have always been there. I mean, you could look and you can find anti-Israel shit in like far right circles like 10 years ago before really like it was ramping up to the degree it is now. But it's because like how do you criticize Israel without getting lumped in with those people? It's like, well, a lot of these people just fall into it. So, but yeah, it should be condemned. Especially you have Anna Kasparian going on and doing the like the greedy Jew meme, like rubbing her fucking hands together, talking about dancing Israelis that like Jews did 9/11. Like these people are fucking off the deep end. So yeah,
I don't really want to talk as much about like them. I want to talk more about the people who they target. Because they have actually harmed people. I mean, when we were in DC, you were in DC, Wick was in DC, we met people who were personally affected by this, hounded by this.
Yes.
And it sucks. And I don't want to overstate the fact, like, it goes beyond that itself, right?
I want to give you
I want to give it an example as well.
Give an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, of the thing of where it goes beyond just the community, the Jewish community and who is getting targeted. Where the factory in the Czech Republic that was burnt down by a group of Palestine activists who were Hassan watchers, who were told that the factory was Israeli.
by Hassan too.
Yeah, Hassan said that factory was Israeli.
That's it. I've never heard that. That could literally.
He also.
I don't know.
Man, these guys just really don't know fucking anything. I don't know why they have opinions on any of it.
They should bring that up more often of like, this is maybe like a terroristic attack that was sponsored.
It was literally a terrorist attack that Hasan watched on stream and said it was funny and epic and based in the UK. And then he wonders why he's not allowed to have an expedited fucking visa there. Like, I've tweeted the clip out before. I don't know if it's hosted online anywhere. We can watch it, but kind of fucking insane. Or can we search this easily, quickly? Hasan supports RAF terrorist attack. Oh my God.
This could soon be classed as a terror gathering. The group behind the protest, Palestine Action, is set to be banned by the UK government and labelled a terrorist organisation. The decision follows this. 2 activists breaking into an Air Force base in central England, spraying red paint into military aircraft engines, and
Different terrorist attacks. Some Hasan watchers burned down a drone factory in the Czech Republic around Artrana. Sure, but wait, I thought he was just referring to this. Did he not say identify the airbase as like going like Israeli planes? I thought that's what he said. Hold on.
The Jewish community and who is getting targeted. Example
give
as
us-
well.
give an
Like,
example, give an example, go ahead.
Yeah, no, of the thing of where it goes beyond just the community, the Jewish community and who is getting targeted. Where the factory in the Czech Republic that was burnt down by
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. He is referring.
Group of
Oh,
Palestinians.
I guess he's done this multiple times. I just heard cheering on terrorist attacks. I assume.
activists who were Hassan watchers, who were told that the factory was Israeli. No.
Because Hasan thought that, and the Palestinian people thought these planes were going to Israel, but they're actually going to Ukraine. Wait, what's this other one? Wait, link me the other one. Link me it.
and damaging them with crowbars. The government says it's the latest
No, I can't believe that. I can't believe that they did such a thing. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. British aircraft.
I'm looking for the clip of Hasan supporting this attack or talking about the attack. That's what I'm looking for. If anybody has that. I don't know why you... if you have that, link me that. Okay.
Applying munitions to an ongoing genocide. That's cool. That's fine. Disrupting those operations. Ooh, not...
He didn't say he talked about it. Oh, okay, never mind. It's just that the guy was somebody who followed Hasan. Okay.
By Hasan too.
But this was... Okay.
Good. Terrorism. Hasan, they injured an aircraft. Yet another anti-Semitic hate crime, chat. You see this? Yet another deeply anti-Semitic hate crime. These were Jewish airplanes. Okay? That's right. Many of you probably thought these were Christian airplanes. They weren't. They were Jewish. So very clearly, this is an act, perhaps the most heinous act of anti-Semitism. We are all equal. Gifted 100 gifted subs. God damn. That's right. You support illegal acts. Oh, that's funny. Oh, no.
On twitch.tv,
the
by
Jewish
the way,
airplane
where they
were doing
literally
birthright.
explicitly wrote a rule, I think for Dylan Burns, that you're never allowed to cheer on a terrorist attack. You can't even cover terrorism. Even if you're not covering it favorably, you can't cover certain terroristic things. But here's Hasan just openly laughing about it and cheering it on.
They were about to do birthright, and they got and they got anti-Semitically disrupted. It's really messed up. This guy got so mad he fucking couldn't even type. This is crystal knocked, but for airplanes. If you keep talking like this, your haters might start to think you don't love Israel. Bargles, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Yeah, the paint cans were paint cans of Hamas. Eliza for the Bears. Thank you for the 10 gifted. Yeah, anti-plane Semitism.
example of the group's campaign of criminal damage, but Palestine Action calls it a symbolic protest.
Trigger warning should have been applied ahead of time. I apologize. I know many of you live in the Cars universe where airplanes are real human beings. I know that you are looking at these beautiful Jewish airplanes that are anti-Semitically attacked this way with Hamas spray paint.
That's freaking epic, bro.
Yeah. It's really fucked up.
How can one man be so
Really
freaking
fucked up
epic?
stuff. I'm so glad. I hope the British government immediately jails these people permanently.
Protest, saying the proposed ban is an overreaction.
This is a really troubling move for anyone who cares about freedom of speech, for the right to protest in this country. We're seeing an evaporation of our rights as we speak.
Since 2020, the group has mostly targeted arms companies with links to Israel's military. The UK
Yeah, they're
Interior
fucking
Minister Yvette
sick. They're dope. Palestine Action is.
Like, I'm sorry, but that's
This
fucking
is like
crazy.
the maximum. Well, not even
That's
the maximum,
crazy,
but like as
bro.
close as you can get to a maximalist position on.
That's how I'm so like
disruptive
jealous
initiative.
of this guy. Is that like he's not only does he support terrorism, right? As a terrorist would, I guess. Like he can be so open and blatant about it. He can just be so honest. He's just like, yeah, these guys are freaking awesome. I love these terrorists. They're freaking great.
Against different parts of the process of the genocidal entity continuing its ethnic cleansing campaign.
The person who burned down a Czech drone factory that makes drones for Ukraine and Israel is an exchange student from the U.S. and followed Hassan on Instagram.
Yeah, Hassan said that factory was Israeli.
That's it. I've never heard that. That could literally.
He also,
I don't know. They should bring that up more often. Of like, this is maybe like a terroristic attack that was spawned.
It was
from this guy's
These
stream.
people are now on trial in the Czech
The
Republic.
problem-
And the factory actually made drone parts for Ukraine.
Yeah, the problem is Hassan is much like Trump. The reason Trump gets away with so much that he does is because every other week there's another fucking scandal. There's just so much. It's hard to focus because when you talk about Trump bad, there's so many examples and it waters it down because there's just so many. Hassan, there's the same thing. Like everyone always talks about his dog. Everyone always talks about his 9/11 comments. Everyone always talks about all these things. But there are so many things that he has done and said that are real big fucking issues.
And he's now gone out of the mainstream, right?
Yeah,
He's now in the mainstream. He campaigns with politicians. And it is worrying to see that there are a lot of these politicians who he campaigns with, or at least candidates he campaigns with, because they're not yet politicians until, at least elected representatives until they actually get elected, sometimes seems to be flirting into that direction, pushing into that direction in terms of how they talk about Jewish people.
Okay,
Send me that the factory story, please, Kraut. I'd like to look into
He
this.
also, I don't know. He also, before being very surprised
I
about
gotta
the
look into
UK not
that
letting
one.
him in, was celebrating and laughing when those Palestine Action people attacked an RAF base and damaged a plane. He was also celebrating that as
that's
well, and
what I was
saying that this was,
thinking.
weapons
And
that
lied.
were used in genocide.
Lied
Yeah,
about
but
it.
they weren't. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the UK had already frozen every single license for offensive weaponry in Gaza. Like they're still sending military aid, quote unquote, but it's for like Iron Dome or parts that Israel used to sell to other countries, or like press vests, or even protective equipment for like humanitarian workers. But it's also it's interesting that like you get these people who say that, well, we talk about it more in America because it's a Western-backed nation. That's why it's more interesting to us than Sudan or whatever else. But like that doesn't explain why people are attacking bases in Belgium, does it? Or it doesn't explain why it's the biggest protest movement in the Netherlands right now. Like some of these countries do fuck all with Israel, and they still, they attacked. There's a Belgian base as well that was actually sending aid to Ukraine. And in the UK, it was again, as far as I know, they lied. They said that these RAF jets were helping to refuel IDF jets, but as far as I've seen, there's literally no evidence of that. So.
Kind of
We
weird.
want to, speaking of Hassan Piker and anti-Semitism and things like that, we have one more entry into our game of, is this anti-Semitism? So, J-Stock tweeted this out. For anybody who isn't watching, Hassan Piker has become the target of every pro-Israel Democrat because they cannot openly support Israel. Don't let this sleight of hand occur.
Oh, no.
Hassan has no effect on Democrat politics, aside from being an effective smokescreen for pro-Israel Dems.
Wow.
So, like I said, we started off easy. We're getting harder. Is this anti-Semitism? What do we think?
I don't think this is anti-Semitic. I think this is kind of a stretch. I mean, maybe could we not? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, did Jared Moskowitz not talk about Israel at all in like the entire campaign that he ran? I think the attacking Hassan is like, hey, this is an easy fucking target. This is a guy with a lot of baggage, a lot of controversies. But whether or not this is anti-Semitic, I don't think so.
Any other
Yeah.
thoughts?
Kind of retarded. Not as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. Is I don't know if it would cross anti-Semitism, but it's really stupid regardless.
Any thoughts, Kraut?
Sorry, I was distracted. I'm not friends with SoyPill. So just noticed that. For anybody who isn't watching, Hassan Piker has become the target of every pro-Israel Democrat because they cannot openly support Israel. That's a bit of a stretch, but it's not anti-Semitic. Don't let this sleight of hand occur. Hassan has no effect on Democrat politics aside from being an effective smokescreen for pro-Israel. No, he does have an effect on politics. He's pushing the party into a leftist extreme. That he's actively trying to push the party into a leftist extreme. He's not succeeding in it because he's a moron. And he looks horrible. And the effect he will have in the end is that he's going to be used by the Republican Party, who are going to try to paint the entire Democratic Party as being the Hassan Party. But yeah, I don't think that is an anti-Semitic statement. It's a stupid statement.
Fair enough. So just conspiratorial, not anti-Semitic is the verdict.
Not even conspiratorial. It's just nonsense.
Yeah,
If he could substantiate it by saying like, look, every single pro-Israeli Democrat in the primary in the past 4 months hasn't been talking about Israel to the same extent because it's become like an 80-20 issue in the Democratic Party. Like that would you could substantiate this, but it seems like a stretch to me.
Fair enough. I don't know. It's just the idea that, like, I agree, it's probably not anti-Semitic, but I think it leads to it. One of the things that you will get called if you criticize Hassan is pro-Israel, right? And so this idea that you cannot, like, if you criticize
Or
Hassan,
Islamophobic.
right, you're just doing it to secretly or subversively defend Israel. I find, again, just it feeds into this kind of narrative, right? That there is, again, this cabal of politicians or cabal of people who are secretly picking on Hassan in order to defend Israel. Again, it's not one-to-one. but it does kind of feed into that conspiratorial thinking.
That's not even like a conspiracy. You don't need a conspiracy to say it is logically. It would just make sense to attack the guy who has said the most unhinged things about Israel, because those are the easy ones to show to people and be like, hey, like this is who this politician is buddying up with. Like, are you okay with saying this about Israel? No. Well, like that's a lot easier. Like the theory of it's easier to look and use this person as the worst example than it is to be like, I have to be on the defense and defend everything Israel is doing. Like that's not that ridiculous. I mean, he's an easy target. That's like what that's like. I think you agree with this. Like that's the reason all the Fox people are going after him. It's not because they're like, oh, Israel's telling them to, but it's like, yeah, look, this guy's got a lot of fucking horrible statements on stream, and you can use them to attack him.
It's the same reason that I think that Democrats should go after Hassan, is because it shows that you are better than this person, and it like show and try to tie it to the other side, right? Like the reason we go after someone like Stephen Miller isn't just because he's evil. He is, but because we can tie it to our enemies on the right and say this is what MAGA is. It's Stephen Miller, right? And it's something that we can do. It's very effective. Same thing. This is the last one I got.
Can I say something about that as well? Like the fact that it's just used as such an incredibly like unrealistic litmus test. The fact that Scott Wiener guy, correct me if I'm wrong, did Scott Wiener, he went as far as calling it genocide, right?
I believe
yeah, he did.
And like, did he support an embargo or did he support restrictions? Or?
Probably supported everything. Doesn't matter.
So
I don't know, but he could pound it either way.
I think it was one and not the other.
But I don't know how much you trust Ryan Grimm, Loner, but like Ryan Grimm was reported. There's like two not verified but independent insiders who said that he had a call with some, I forgot what it was, like a
I would not
trust
Ryan Grimm.
Wait, he had a call with who? Wait, what? Hold on.
But I don't know how much you trust Ryan Grimm, Loner, but like Ryan Grimm was reported. There's like two not verified but independent insiders who said that he had a call with some, I forgot what it was, like a
I would not trust Ryan Grimm.
Ryan Grimm said there were insiders that told him. Is that like how you did that?
I'd have to find it. Actually, let me grab it right now just so I don't like start hearsaying.
In the second.
Also, you should never trust Ryan Grimm's reporting on anything. At best, you can use it as a start, but you should always be looking to back it up with an actual journalist, like who does real reporting, and not whatever slop shit that Ryan Grimm does.
Of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there was an American journalist who was murdered by Russian soldiers, and Ryan Grimm was out there claiming that no, actually it was the Ukrainians who murdered him, and are now blaming the Russians falsely. Like that's the type of person that Ryan Grimm is.
Yes.
So Scott Wiener, Senator Scott Wiener, calls Israel's actions genocide during a congressional debate forum.
Yes, yeah, he did come out and say that, but the implication in this might as well be conspiracy, because right now it's hearsay. There's no verified sources. Is that he did this?
And that's everything with Ryan Grimm.
Is that he did this what? Oh, fuck, they keep cutting him off!
And this might as well be conspiracy, because right now it's hearsay. There's no verified sources. Is that he did this?
And that's everything with Ryan Grimm.
Yeah.
If you've got a minute later, SoyPill, I can show you Ryan Grimm site literally spreading a fabricated quote from the anti-Hamas protesters to try and say they were pro-resistance. It was just completely fake.
I saw when they had Rokana on, I've called Dropsite into question and their credibility, so I am not taking this.
Call Dropsite into question. Those guys are they're Jew haters. They're anti-Semites, both of them.
Yeah.
Easy call. I was going to say, yeah, because Scott Wiener was not only harassed by those people at that Pride rally that he'd apparently been going to for years. He was also, I think it was Hassan who said that he should, his repentance for it, or his way of compensating for the Zionism would be to support Hamas. It's like, and the fact that that's happening to a Jewish person as well, that's just fucking unbelievable.
So I'm going to read Scott Wiener's full statement. He says, for years, I've condemned Netanyahu and his extremist government and the devastation they've inflicted on Gaza. It's why I've been clear. I won't support U.S. funding for the destruction of Palestinian communities. I've stopped short of calling it a genocide, but I can't anymore. And he calls it a genocide, right? So not only does he, refuse to support U.S. funding, like he's against U.S. funding for the destruction of Palestinian communities, right? So arms embargo, things like that. But he also calls it a genocide. So that's the. What else do you want if you're pro-Palestinian? I don't know.
Do you know what's interesting?
Is that he gets flack because they don't believe him. Is like his track record for that is like he was like
the lying Jew.
He's done this as a cynical political move and not because he truly believes that it is.
The cynical political move, the guy who's been like a fucking LGBTQIA trans advocate and everything for his whole fucking career, San Francisco dude or whatever, is like just virtue signaling. Okay. You know why he's virtue signaling though, right? What was that guy's last name again? Anybody remember? Crimson Mana, thank you for giving 40 tier 3 subs. Holy shit.
And he hasn't done anything to show that he truly believes it in the same way that...
Done anything to show? What is he supposed to do? Go join Hamas and take up arms against Israel? Like, how are you even supposed to win that? How do you even demonstrate that? Oh my God.
People who are calling it genocide or are showing support for like arms embargoes are that's specifically.
Has he voted against arms to Israel? I don't even know.
Well, he just got
he's a state
elected. He just won the primary, and before that he was a
state assembly person or whatever.
Okay, so he could have.
So he's never voted for them either.
But he hasn't shown support. Like, hey, if I'm elected, this is what I'll do. Is my understanding.
You know what's such an interesting comparison is that, like, to this day, I don't think I've called Russia's actions in Ukraine a genocide, and I've even people asked me to say no, I don't think so yet.
Even though the UN, I think,
no
has more
Ukrainian
strongly...
or pro-Ukrainian has ever given me shit for that, like ever. It's just such a strange thing that like the double standard on that.
I think you should call it a genocide, sir.
Yeah, let's give him some shit. I actually don't know if it needs a Kraut. You probably, all of us know the best, with the way they're displacing.
You could say ethnic cleansing. It's definitely ethnic cleansing at this point. Yeah, because they're deporting people to Siberia.
Okay, last entry. Okay, the meme. I sold out our country for Israel because I'm a pedophile. Is this anti-Semitism?
You said it was going to get harder. I think this is more anti-Semitic than some of the other examples we've seen.
Really?
Because,
why?
Yeah, well, so the idea that like playing to the idea that Israel owns our country, Trump has sold them out, and also Israel has some like secret like IDF dirt, some Mossad dirt on Trump, which, this could be true. Maybe there's an Epstein connection, but this is all conspiracy. It's all just like not baseless conjecture, but it's like you're 17 steps ahead in like this conspiracy. And like the idea that like we've entered
that was
the
the
Iran
signal gang.
Yeah, that was the
signal.
Epstein Freudian slip. Like the idea that this is like even close to being substantiated in the same way. Like Marco Rubio comes out and has retracted the statements of like, oh, Israel forced our hand in Iran. Like that's a little closer, but like saying like, oh, Donald Trump is a pedophile and Israel knows and they have blackmail on him and they control our government. And it's like, okay, you're leaning way harder into the anti-Semitism there.
They should just kept the last 3 words. That'd have been a much better sign.
Can I guess who that tweet came from?
If you guess,
I'll
give you a prize.
Yeah, from Kyle.
It's Kyle Kulinski.
Yeah, it's Kyle.
Yeah, because he says that.
I know you tried to hide that, but it's in the URL, right?
Look, I'm not the best at hiding things, okay? But that speaks to my
not
character.
like Israel.
I just don't have practice at it.
The most transparent panel of all time.
I'm too honest. It's just true, I can't tell a lie. I'm literally incapable. Okay, we have reached the 2-hour mark. Let's read some of these super chats. And if anyone has any other thoughts on these, we can get into it. Like, this panel's gone a lot of different ways. Okay, $10 from the Trib. Is Soy just trying to say it's a genocide and Israel deserves the negativity they get regardless of how healthy it is because genocide? So fact of the matter would be the differentiator here, not the label.
No, it's the opposite. It's like the talking candidly about what's actually happening is unfortunately going to very thinly and very closely play into anti-Semitic tropes. Israel has a lot of influence over our country. I don't think we have a fucking Zog, but we do have millions of dollars coming from pro-Israeli PACs or whatever to influence primaries. But it's like, is this even close to the biggest amount of spending electorally? No. I think it's like 5th electorally, and for lobbying, it's not even close. But like specifically in elections, it's like top 10. But the idea that like, oh, and our government is owned by Israel, like talking candidly about AIPAC, talking candidly about what Israel's doing in Gaza, like it's easy for anti-Semites to jump on that train, and it's frustrating because you can do all this without being anti-Semitic, and you get lumped in with the people that are like, oh, look at fucking Israel owns our country because Trump's a pedophile and Epstein, which several of those 3 things might be true, but you're drawing a lot of conclusions.
$5 from No Flame, please. In 3rd grade, I was really sick and pooped myself. Why would Soros do this to me? Thank you for that.
Sure.
$5 from Trib 1. It's pretty obvious that the people covering the conflict without legit hate for either side can criticize both sides. If you can't, then that's telling. $5 from Bangarang. There is no one better to talk Israel-Palestine than Lonerbox. SoyPill, you already had to get educated by him on the topic while already having strong opinions. Okay.
Whoa.
I appreciate all the Lonerbox conversations, and I'm not coming in here as an expert. In fact, I would go so far as to say Lonerbox knows more about being Jewish than I do as a Jew. So
is that anti-Semitic to say? I don't know.
Epic.
$2.
So I knows more about being an Arab than me. It's fine.
Okay. Trib 1 for $2. Ziobox, LOL. The Mossad send their best. Ha ha ha. W-box.
I've heard Zogbox. That was off the tongue better than Ziobox. I don't know.
Is it anti-Semitic to call me Zogbox?
Probably, yeah, absolutely.
Shit.
$5.
It's a lot of people, a lot of enemies you just made there.
Wow. 7 million of them. Okay. $5 from the Trib 1.
7 million.
Yeah. On a serious.
What's significant about that number, Wick?
Don't worry about it. On a serious note,
That number sounds too high.
the fact of the matter on the grounds is what gets missed a lot. How Adam Smith dog-walked Crystal was because she didn't know. Thank you for $5. $5 from Bad Company. Or, I'm sorry, I already read that one. $5 from the Trib 1. This is a right angle IMO because of the lack of information from the dog posters is why we're here. But yeah, run your show, Wick. LOL.
LOL.
Okay. $20 from Chachi, McSwagger. So long as a single civilian dies in Gaza, SoyPill will say America wasn't hard enough on Israel. He assigns 0% of the blame to Hamas because he simply wants Israel to lose and die, like all progressives do. It's that simple.
It's crazy, Wick. These people can just read my mind. They're so good at like just disseminating my opinion. They're the perfect, just, oh man, so eloquent, so verbose.
You gotta get better dog whistles.
Yeah.
So in other words, you agree with him? Totally got it. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's
$5. $5 from Metalworks. I'm sorry. Okay, $5. No, we're gonna get it. Okay, straight face. $5 from Metalworks. Imagine we stop giving Israel weapons and China just swoops in to arm them instead. I'm pretty sure that's the worst case scenario for everyone involved.
that's xenophobic.
Yeah. Shachi McSwag for $5. SoyPill equates arming Israel to arming Russia. I'm curious, what was October 7th event for the invasion of Ukraine?
To be clear, I don't think arming Russia would be the same as arming Israel. I was just trying to make the argument of like, well, they're causing all this destruction. If we give them more accurate things, technically this could cause less destruction insofar as if the bombs are less discriminate, or if you have like those like ninja stars even, they like aren't even bombs. And
But I don't think that Russia cares much about, like, sometimes the indiscriminate bombing is part of the point. So more precise munitions probably wouldn't change their behavior that much, depending on what thing we're talking about. But
like assassinate a guy in a car. Like this argument makes sense to me, but depending on what the policies of the country are, I think that, well, it doesn't really matter if they have more accurate bombs insofar as they don't care. They'll use the less accurate bombs if they want to. It's just, you know, if they use the more accurate bombs to kill civilians anyway, even if it's not directly targeting them, but they don't care about the collateral, like then it's kind of irrelevant in the long run.
Is that what you think about Israel, to be clear? You think the accuracy of their weapons doesn't matter?
Yep, that's what he thinks.
I think the way in which they use them, it doesn't seem to matter in the scheme of, okay, you've kind of just leveled Gaza and killed way too many people. Yeah.
Way too many.
Shit.
How many should they have killed?
Because
Ask him. Oh my God, that'd be such a good question.
$5 from-
What was the right number of civilian deaths? I want to hear him say anything besides 0. What was the right number, you think?
Bad company. If the in before SoyPill drops, quote, how do you sleep at night, end quote, for Lonerbox, like Cristobal did Slotkin.
How do you sleep at night, Leonard? Because if you've got a good sleeping pill, I'm out of melatonin and I need to re-up.
If you combine melatonin with antihistamines and L-theanine, you can. That's an emergency cocktail.
I thought L-theanine was the one that makes you have more voluminous semen.
Jesus.
I have not noticed
zinc.
that. I just use it for sleep sometimes.
Okay. 2 pounds from Riz What the Fuck. Laughable ignorance from SoyPill yet again. Okay, $10.
Why do they hate you so much? That's so. It's kind of yeah.
It's probably because I'm Jewish. I think your chatter's
That's
anti-Semitic.
shit here that I don't even know.
LeMayo.
$10 from the Trib One.
That was freaking
I
epic.
love Loner, but he's not getting this info from thin air. There are many people covering it who are calling balls and strikes. The far left is anti-Israel, and their media signal boosts that feeling. I think that was to you, Lonerbox.
I don't know what I'm supposed to respond to that
It's
with.
just like the Lonerbox is like a Hasbarist, like Israel-funded.
Well, no,
funded or something.
Lonerbox made a
What
comment.
was I saying?
Oh, where I got my information from, you're saying?
No, Lonerbox got a comment. No, Lonerbox, you made a comment earlier in the conversation that a lot of times this information is unreliable, it's fabricated in some cases, all these things, right? And this person is countering that or attempting to counter that by saying, well, there's just so much of it out there, and they're trying to call balls and strikes. It's not just they're not just pulling it out of their ass; they're actually trying to do the right thing. That's a counter.
The organizations are, you mean? Like the orgs who condemn Israel?
Again, that's how I read it. It could be.
Yeah, I know they're getting their information from somewhere, but again, because SoyPill did the whole Hasan battle rap, all the org thing, like I can give you one specific example. Like the most recent one, they put out a report on this like within the last couple of months. They are still using the 70% women and children dead number, even though the health ministry stopped using that number like 2 years ago, and the UN stopped using that number as well because it was false, because it was lumping in a whole bunch of things from the government media, just randomly adding thousands of women and children when they were and they couldn't. Like they're just using antiquated stats 2 years after the fact, and these are supposed to be the professionals and the experts, and they're literally using data that even the health ministry doesn't use. Most of my information comes from actually the fact, not from just believing Israel. It's because there's a surprising amount of information that Israel and Hamas completely agree upon. They agree that Hamas puts tunnels everywhere. They agree that Hamas fires missiles from refugee tents. They agree that Hamas is under hospitals. They agree that Hamas uses schools, and and they have fucking lawyers who are also militants. They have doctors who are also militants. They have nurses who are also militants. They have aid workers who are also. They all agree on this. If you just look at what both of them are saying, and if you look at especially over the last 8 months of the amount of stuff that they agree that they use child soldiers. Islamic Jihad have just released like 20 people. One of them was as young as 14 that have been killed in this war. So I don't know. But for some reason, Westerners don't consent to that.
Make sure you give him a $10 answer, okay? $5 from Black-Pilled Kiwi. Amnesty International shit the bed royally in Ukraine when they claimed their forces were operating among civilians in schools and hospitals.
Oh, they were shit in the fuck up.
Jesus.
They were schools that were abandoned, right? Like,
What they and this continues.
Well, and it's also because Russia's attacking cities. So I mean, like Jesus Christ, they're literally bombing your cities of civilians.
They failed.
No
to
shit,
mention
the soldiers
was that
are in civilian
were
areas.
Evacuation refusers. The schools were on the front lines and already bombed out, and the soldiers were being treated in the hospital at SoyPill. Okay. Bangarang for $5. SoyPill. Are you capable of not looking at every single part of this topic? Is Israel bad, or are you that audience captured? Your chat is insane.
I mean, if we're talking
Your
about
chat is kind of
what they're
insane,
doing
to be clear.
in Gaza,
let me find his chat. Where's his chat?
Is his chat like? I remember when we were at Lebanon.
telling
Your
you
chat
something's
was telling
mean to
me
you,
to shove
Loner.
a pineapple up my ass.
Are you on Twitch? I want to look at your chat. You'll never stop. Okay,
I'm
they're
not
rabid.
streaming on Twitch right now. I'm just on YouTube.
Fuck.
Wait, why? You can
He
look.
wants to
You
see
can
your
open up
crazy
YouTube
chat.
too.
I want to
He's
look.
very curious.
I'm streaming on
look,
Twitch.
I don't know what his chat is saying, but I'm very curious. What can you?
No
give us,
one's called you
like,
Zogbox yet. But a couple.
Should they call me much nicer?
Wait. Have there been things in here that have been said that could get me banned from Twitch? No, right? Since you bring it up. Okay, good.
Never.
All right, everyone, he's coming. Everyone, be nice. Wait. So yeah, am I capable of seeing things?
SoyPill's YouTube moderator having a completely normal reaction to his debate with Lonerbox. Loner, your main argument is that Israelis would go full genocide. Wait, is this the mod, the star thing, or is that a subscriber? I fucking hate Loner. If he was black, he'd be a free house ninja. Okay.
Things is Israel, like, do I think Israel's evil in every aspect? No, but we're specifically talking about like the actions that I super condemn. So like, of course, I'm going to be anti-Israel in that respect.
$10 from Chachi to say, friendly reminder that there's almost nothing more anti-Semitic to say about Israel than twisting Gaza's 5-figure fatality count into evidence of their genocidal intent. Damned if they do or don't.
Personally, think there's a lot more anti-Semitic stuff you could say than that.
Don't give examples. Okay.
No, I would know. I'm just saying that seems like a really rather.
And here's a list.
Yeah, right.
No, I got in trouble for that in 5th grade. Not that specifically, but my teacher, we did a segment on racism in English class for whatever reason. And she asked the class, like, do you guys know any racist slurs? And
I know
being the
this
good
story.
student that I am, I did. and I proceeded to list them. And I got sent to the principal's office. That sucks. $5 from Travika. Question to SoyPill. For people who are Zionist, should that belief no longer exist in your eyes? If so, why?
I just don't like the term because of the way it's just all-encompassing and the way it's used. Obviously, I can't be like, oh, snap my fingers and we'll use a different word. But the fact that it encompasses, especially when we talk about the polling, I already said this, but it's like, I am sympathetic to the idea. Like, there's no greater justification for a Jewish state than like, you're post-1945, you're like, okay, literally every fucking country in the world has kicked us out and tried to fucking kill us. We need a fucking safe space. Even like America, like, you know, it didn't accept us during this like Holocaust, but I think as the world has developed and like, you know, people are more accepting and there's all these Western countries, it's less justifiable to say like we need this to maintain this ethnic majority. And I am less sympathetic to the fact of like, especially the people that want to maintain ethnic majorities using like fascistic tendencies. But yeah, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I became anti-Israel for a second.
Should Zionists exist?
Oh, should Zionists exist? Like, yeah, like if you think like Israel should exist and that's what you call Zionism, like sure, but like that's why it's frustrating because Zionism also entails ultra-Zionism or rabid Zionism, as a learner said it. So
$5 from Nemo Nobody. This guy's propeller hat is a bit too on the nose. $20 from True Thompson. Thank you, Wick. You're welcome. For exposing the ignorance of the soy pill and showing what it looks like when an uninformed person with strong opinions meets actual facts and knowledge. Thanks.
You can't, no, don't give Wick credit for that, all right? I have been a YouTuber for 5 years. I've been doing that all on my own.
Okay, $5 from Bad Company. But by all means, protect Hassan from Moskowitz soy pill, really doing the Lord's work.
Let me just comment on that. I think that was so ridiculous.
I got a comment too.
Wait, okay, hold on real quick. Water comes out of this at 100 degrees. What do I do with the 100-degree water? Or no, 100-degree steam. Wait, does this thing take hotter steam? Oh, no, wait. Can I make normal steam with this and then burn it in a... Wait. Oh, no, this is steam 2 water. Forget everything I just said. Never mind.
Shitting on Hassan, I'm here for it, okay? Politicians shitting on Hassan even. Like AOC going after Alex Stein, AOC going after Temple, AOC going after Ben Shapiro. I'm there for it. The fact that it's like your initial message right after figuring out you won, I think that's a little embarrassing. That's like not inspiring confidence.
No, I think that was fine. Especially on the platform.
Twitter's for shit posting, man. Twitter's for
probably
shit
gave him the
posting.
bug, bro.
Well, no, because like you look at his tweet that came out like a few hours later, which is like, oh, this is what I expect a politician to do when they win, which is like, here's my...
Oh, no, it's here. Water to steam. How do I just get rid of extra water? Do I need a recycler? Do I just recycle it?
Family, thank you, voters. Here's my dog. Thank you, voters. And it's like, yeah, that's what I want. When Joe Biden wins the race, that's what he can do. If Joe Biden says, or, you know, my favorite example of this, when Barack Obama, someone asked him like Kanye West, and he got hot mic'd me, like, oh, that guy's a jackass. You know, like, hilarious. We love when people shit on people we don't like. If Barack Obama won,
especially on the platform.
Twitter's for shit posting, man. Twitter's for
probably
shit
gave him the
posting.
bug, bro.
well, no, because like you look at his tweet that came out like a few hours later, which is like, oh, this is what I expect a politician to do when they win, which is like, here's my family. Thank you, voters. Here's my dog. Thank you, voters. And it's like, yeah, that's what I want. When Joe Biden wins the race, that's what he can do. If Joe Biden says, or, you know, my favorite example of this, when Barack Obama, someone asked him like Kanye West, and he got hot mic'd me, like, oh, that guy's a jackass. You know, like, hilarious. We love when people shit on people we don't like. If Barack Obama won, and then like the hour after he wins, he's like, fuck you, Kanye West. I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this
Hold
is
on.
That would be funny.
Let's say Trump does run for a third term, right? And Newsom, you know, or
Dude, every liberal that came out, so after the Moskowitz guy won, he tweeted out, like, you know, my condolences to Hassan, which was funny. And then all the liberals were like, I can't believe you. I can't believe after you win that you were talking about Hassan. I can't believe you're such a bad person. It was like so fucking soy. It was probably the most soy shit I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God.
But by all means, protect Hassan from Moskowitz soy pill, really doing the Lord's work.
This was, yeah.
let me just comment on that. I think that was so ridiculous.
I got a comment too.
Shitting on Hassan, I'm here for it, okay? Politicians shitting on Hassan even. Like AOC going after Alex Stein, AOC going after Temple, AOC going after Ben Shapiro. I'm there for it. The fact that it's like your initial message right after figuring out you won, I think that's a little embarrassing.
Like,
that's like not inspiring confidence.
No, I think that was fine. Especially on the platform.
Twitter's for shit posting, man. Twitter's for
probably
shit
gave him the
posting.
bug, bro.
Well, no, because like you look at his tweet that came out like a few hours later, which is like, oh, this is what I expect a politician to do when they win, which is like, here's my family. Thank you, voters. Here's my dog. Thank you, voters. And it's like, yeah, that's what I want. When Joe Biden wins the race, that's what he can do. If Joe Biden says, or, you know, my favorite example of this, when Barack Obama, someone asked him like Kanye West, and he got hot mic'd me, like, oh, that guy's a jackass. You know, like, hilarious. We love when people shit on people we don't like. If Barack Obama won, and then like the hour after he wins, he's like, fuck you, Kanye West. I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this
Hold
is
on.
That would be funny.
Let's say Trump does run for a third term, right? And Newsom, you know, or another liberal warrior beats him in the election, and then the first thing he tweets out is, fuck you, Donald Trump, right? We won.
Based.
Would you have a problem with that?
No.
I think I would as the victory message because like, damn, our country is like, not only are we divided.
This is such an ad hoc position. There's no way. I can't cry. Are you fucking serious? There's no way that people can expect this to be like anything beyond like I have to have this position to be consistent. Because like everybody would think that would be fucking hilarious. Come on.
enough that like Trump has done everything that Trump has done, but like now our post victory, our like consolidation, our like message of unity is like go fuck yourself, everyone who didn't vote for me. Like that's getting a little risky. I'm not really happy with that.
No way. I think we should dunk on MAGA and hang on the ram the way that.
Yeah.
I agree. You're preaching to the choir, but I'm just saying as the victory message. It's like this is not inspiring.
I don't see why it's a problem. I don't know.
Look, I'm the one who says Gavin should call him retard on stage. I'm just saying if he did it as his victory message, I'd be like, all right, is this where we're going? This is where the country is right now.
Bella Monto for $5. It's Canadian money.
Sam.
No, actually don't. I take that back. No, Canadian money is just as good as American money. You should send it to me too. Okay.
It's literally not. It's literally much less worth.
Look. For SoyPill, if Hamas did a chemical, biological, or nuclear attack on Israel, would it be justified?
All three?
Or one of the three.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be. No.
Wait, if it was all three, would it be justified?
Well, yeah, only with all three, because then it's just like, well, that's just cool. I mean, that's so many cool different ways to do a terrorist attack. No, of course not. What the fuck?
Trabakia for $5. Question for SoyPill. Do you trust AIPAC Tracker as fully reliable as factual for information regarding funds?
Absolutely not. Okay. No, AIPAC Tracker is ridiculous. I mean, like you look at specifically the example I was pointing to is the Scott Wiener race, right? Where they're like, when Shoykot Chakrabarti is their preferred candidate, they're like, look, he's got the green marker. Connie Chen, she takes all this money from AIPAC. Then as soon as it's Connie Chen and Scott Wiener as the two viable candidates, now they flip it and they're like, oh no, Connie Chen is actually great. She rejects AIPAC. It's like, well, hold on, like Scott Wiener doesn't even take money from AIPAC. He's pro-Israel. But like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
$50 from that Blue Falcon. Hey, SoyPill, your moderator, Collapstilism, said Lonerbox would be a house N-word in your YouTube chat.
Did he? Dude, I literally...
That's kind of a crazy reaction, no? Isn't that a little bit of a unhinged reaction? That's okay.
Just gave a mod in this chat. I was like, I can give this guy a mod. I trust him. Did you call him a house? Jesus Christ, dude, come on. Don't make me take it away.
Think that's
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be the SoyPill right now. Okay, I'm gonna actually soy the fuck out. Do you know any idea how fucking disheartening it is? As an Arab, as a Lebanese lad, to hear this like constant. When I was a fucking kid, I used to get attacked because people blame me for 9/11 and shit like that. I got beaten up once because of 9/11. Apparently that was my fault. But then I get older and it's like these. Then not much happens. And then on the fucking left, it's this idea that like you're a fucking race traitor because I don't like Hezbollah, this fucking organization that has tried to turn a third of my country into a fucking battleground so that they can lob rockets at Israel and then run away behind all the civilians. Like, oh, we're gonna keep on fighting, but you're gonna have to go through that. Oh shit, you just blew up that fucking like civilian house that I'm hiding under. And they do this all the time. Like there's the village like just right next to where my grandmother lives, getting bombed because some fucking Hezbollah general decided it was a good idea to go and lie low, remote Christian community. Like it's so fucking mental. And again, just
that's
like
a crazy thing.
It's not so. It's not so much just to think that. And again, this is an Iranian proxy. They get their money from Iran. They do nothing for Lebanon. They just bring this country shit and fucking war, and then they run and hide behind civilians whenever the shit gets hot. And then they go on TV and say, "We will continue fighting," and then they, oh no, we're getting bombed. No shit, we need a ceasefire. Israel goes and backs off, and then they fucking throw rockets again. They go, oh, we're gonna run behind this. We're gonna continue fighting. Oh no, it's gonna be let's ceasefire. And then they just done it for the last fucking 40 fucking. It's such a waste of time. Jesus, what a fucking way to ruin a country.
By the way, I have to also select 6 minutes. I don't know how many super chats you still have to read, but I'm getting really tired. I've been up since.
Tell people
I've been awake since like 6 in the morning. Okay, I only just started streaming. I'm still kind of figuring out how to do that.
Doesn't care.
On YouTube, it's Kraut Live. Should I link you the channel?
I linked it in my YouTube description.
Completely fucking shit on. Completely owned. Doesn't give a fuck. Epic based.
I don't know if people here will be interested in watching my streams. I'd have to DM it to you, but I can't do that right now because I'm sharing my screen. Wait,
here, my OG commenters when I had like 5 comments per video kept.
How does he know you were lying? Oh, I heard him saying this last night because I listened to this. Did he walk? If he walked it back, I think I didn't see that at all. Apparently he walked that back. I thought I heard him like defend it multiple times. Am I crazy? But I like how he can instantly assume that I'm being like bad faith, I guess. But like I said, if it's like I have given, as somebody who doesn't have a big incentive to, I have given Pisco more charitability than literally anybody like would ever like that. So to just assume, I guess like that, I don't know. It says something about I guess his mental state. So whatever, fuck it.
Liars. So who was doing that to you? Like somebody, because you did apologize for that. So what the fuck is happening with that?
Yeah, no. So a bunch of people, including Destiny, lied to me about me, and so that's the reason why I will never interact with him again.
Really?
Yes, that's correct.
Wait. So Destiny lied about you?
Yeah, but listen, I'm not going to linger on it. You brought it up, but that's the answer.
Okay, I think it's I think maybe I don't know enough from the clips that I'm seeing. I see that you apologized and you moved forward. I think maybe you should have a conversation with him.
No,
I don't
no,
think
it's malice. It's malice. It's a purposeful, knowing lie, and he will never accept it as such, and I would never accept anything less than an acknowledgement that it was a purposeful, malicious lie. And I have no interest, really, in interacting with such people. And so, just to make everything clear, I will never be interacting with him again. Such liars.
Like, it's such an insane mind read on when he can't know anything about anything else or anybody ever, or that Hassan just makes all these mistakes. But for me, oh no, actually, he's 100% malicious, evil, terrible, horrible. Like, okay.
So you gotta talk to Kraut. You gotta talk to Kraut. So at least some.
Yeah, I'm only just learning how to stream. I'm only just learning to stream and have conversations live. It's a new thing for me. I'm not really good at it yet. And I came into this completely unprepared because I apparently picked the wrong topic. I'm not going to talk about Israel because fuck that topic. But yeah.
That's anti-Semitic.
Yep. Feel free to leave if you need. I do have a few more.
Okay.
An Austrian man saying that. I'm nervous.
Okay. Yeah. No, it is not. Okay. Thank you for having me, and thank you for helping me promote my streaming channel. And I hope you all have a wonderful night, all of you. Bye bye.
Ciao.
$10 for bad company. Ryan Grimm, laugh emoji.
I should stay at the stream and not leave the call. I'm such an idiot. Okay. Bye. Good night.
I love Kraut. Kraut's a great guy. Kraut's a...
Mod double plus triple down on SoyPill reaction. Add the SoyPill. I'll get on the chat to prove I'm black so that can't cry. The SoyPill, remove it. I love you still, and that's all I wanted to say. I told you. Oh, I didn't know you were going to call him one. You're too spicy for responsibility. LeMayo. I love how Lonerbox is still crying. I love this snake. I wasn't wrong. Just an idiot. I'll take that all day. SoyPill. Add collapsalism. Or collapsitalism. Collapsitalism. Thank you, thank you. I roll. Haha, y'all so serious. I say that, and he wants more genocide. Crazy. I'll be the bad guy. Good one.
The party animal, man. Okay, just gotta say that. $10 from Bad Company says, Ryan Grimm, laugh emoji. I'm out on that note. This is not a real conversation.
I salted that opinion. I was like, I don't know how much you guys trust Ryan Graham. That this is recording, so.
$20 from King of Kings. I think this whole conversation keeps getting derailed because of anti-Semitism and the subconscious issues at play. I do have a caller that wants that does say that you're an anti-Semite, SoyPill. I don't know if you want to talk about it. But...
Yeah, I would love to hear how I'm anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
and by the way, I'm not going to do the Ben Shapiro, like, I'm Jewish, you can't do that. It's like, no, I could be anti-Semitic. In fact, I joke about being anti-Semitic.
We'll bring him on in a minute. Let me get through these, okay? $5 from Lawson Harrison. What are we going to say in 20 years when the ICJ rules against the claims of genocide?
They might not.
Some of those judges Loner was right.
They might not. Some of those judges are fucking insane, but who knows these days.
$5 from Tactical Johnson. One time I pooped in the ocean. My gift to the world. Okay. $5 from Jordan. Why do people think Americans should be protesting Sudan when Sudan is not a U.S. ally?
Well, I think there's some level of like moral wrongdoing that you should probably stand for.
Well, and Loner brought up earlier, it's like, okay, well, maybe it explains the American side of it, but like, why is the Netherlands, why are their biggest protests in Belgium not for that? That's what he was saying.
Like, why is ICE spiritually Israeli when they kill a civilian, but they're not like spiritually any of the other 20 fucking weird countries that American police do exchanges with? Like, why are they not spiritually Thai when American police goes and trains with the Thai royal police when they commit human rights abuse?
Is it anti-Semitic to say that?
Yes.
Yeah. Spiritually
what if I said fucking like
spiritually Mexican?
ICE is spiritually Iranian. What, just because they killed a protester in their country? Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't even make sense. How often does Israel kill their own citizens for protesting? They don't even do that for. They kill people from other countries. Like, but, stupid. Like, if you look at it would be like saying
wait,
that,
just saying a photo. Can you show it on screen? Sorry, go ahead.
Like, it's really because I looked into American police forces and just like how many countries they actually do exchanges with. You know that the IDF and the Israeli security forces did an exchange. They were invited to an exchange in China, specifically on security and counterterrorism, but also particularly on sniping. And they did it in the middle of the Great March of Return, when all these left-wingers say that Israeli snipers were just like murdering random civilians for peacefully protesting at the border fence. When that was happening, China invited the IDF over to exchange tactics. What if I said like the IDF was being spiritually Chinese? Because the Chinese hosted it. They were the main ones who were teaching stuff.
Doesn't matter.
Was Israel being spiritually
China's
Chinese when they were sniping Palestinians at the border?
They love China.
Anyway, countries are responsible for themselves and what they choose to do.
So what you showed me says protest.
Oh, yeah, I was just... Oh. Yeah, so this is just for context. There's this org called Jew Belongs, a nonprofit. They're very big in the Bay Area, and sometimes Loner, I'm like, you sound like a Jew Belong billboard. These billboards are everywhere, man. But
what?
That's all.
I talk about Sudan.
I don't know that's anti-Semitic.
Wait, what? What? Okay.
I don't know.
No.
I don't think this is anti-Semitic.
Yeah, those billboards annoy me to the point where it makes me hate that org. I'm like, they're so big and pink and annoying. There's one that says like, a billboard can't stop anti-Semitism, but you're not a billboard.
True. I mean, where's the lie? Okay. Where was I?
That was so
$2.
weird. Okay.
General Maccabi. Wick, get Lonerbox and Nick Batau together. I don't know who that is.
That guy's a fucking loser.
Okay, so probably not happening.
He's like actually like a proper fucking like Zio nutter. Like he's an extreme Zionist who wants Israel to be from the river to the sea and he defends every single military action and all that shit.
Actually, speaking of nutters, have you ever talked to P.F. Young?
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately.
Wow. Speaking of Zionist nutters, because I saw you and Pisco talk to Avi Bitterman. What's your opinion on him?
He's definitely more right-leaning and more Zionist-leaning than for my taste, but I don't think he's terrible. I think, again, when it comes to the question of, like, quite a few disagreeable things he says, obviously fucking vote for retard, but also, like, as far as someone that you can share a movement with, I think I would put him in there.
Well, I don't know if this will change your opinion because someone brought this to my attention. He tweeted, this was 2 months after October 7th, so take that.
I like how he's saying someone brought this to my attention. He's getting fed info from Kilo, from Gisticle, from Doobie for this debate, by the way, because they all fucking hate Lonerbox. That's what Pisco, or that's what SoyPill means when he says that. Somebody's linked me this. 100%.
as you will. He said, I don't actually believe there's such a thing as a civilian in Gaza. There's IDF and there's Hamas. I'd like to caveat my caveat. There are no people in Gaza. There is light and there is darkness, which is like just the most fucking racist, like anti-Palestinian shit I've ever read in my fucking life. And I would not want to share a coalition with that guy if I could help it.
Well, Avi sometimes watches me. He's jumped on my show before.
Wait, did Avi say that? It's a little unhinged. Is that
my attention? He tweeted.
I think I would put him in there.
Well,
so that I wouldn't.
I don't know if this will change your opinion because someone brought this to my attention. He tweeted, this was 2 months after October 7th, so take that, as you will. He said, I don't actually believe there's such a thing as a civilian in Gaza. There's IDF and there's Hamas. I'd like to caveat my caveat. There are no people in Gaza. There is light and there is darkness, which is like just the most fucking racist, like anti-Palestinian shit I've ever read in my fucking life. And I would not want to share a coalition with that guy if I could help it.
Well, Avi sometimes watches me. He's jumped on my show before. Avi, if you want to answer for your hate crimes, we'd be happy.
He did delete the first one. He didn't delete the second one.
Because the thing is, like, he talks like, the thing is, like,
That's sarcasm, me making fun of people who say such horrible things. I try to make it obvious by saying there are no people, something I obviously don't believe, but man, if this is really getting you confused and you think I even remotely believe it, or I'm saying that unironically, I probably should just delete it. So yeah, so it's because SoyPill is being linked stuff from, probably from, I don't know, from which person in the logistical crew, but he's got like old tweets to fire away at. Yeah.
He talks like that on Twitter, but then if you talk to him about conduct and about like moral positions and all that, like he's actually very clear that he opposes even strikes on buildings where there are militants, but if the civilian collateral is too high and things like that. So it's like actually quite critical when
it would be kind of weird for him to have that position when he's like a fucking ethical vegan. Like you're treating animals better than human beings at that point.
Comes to Israel, like I don't know.
Maybe he's changed since said tweet, but I wouldn't believe that this man cared when he says there are no people in Gaza.
I like how for him, it's one single tweet of a statement like that is enough for him to write off an entire one single tweet. But for everybody else, you need mountains and mountains and mountains of questionable, condemnable things you gotta look into. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Eliminator, for the gifted subs in Kick Chat.
It's a pretty red flag tweet. Shit.
That does seem, that seems probably bad. Okay.
That seems
probably bad.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
$5 from Rifftop. Does SoyPill think xenophobia is okay? If you're anti-Israel, that's fine because it's not anti-Semitic. Why split hairs when it's bigotry regardless?
Is it xenophobia to be like America does bad things? Like I'm anti-America? Like is it xenophobic to say I'm anti-Russia? I think that's not really xenophobia. Xenophobia is like a fear of like foreigners coming in and be like, oh, these foreigners are gonna come ruin our our country. Like I don't think saying I don't like Israel's actions is xenophobic.
Sure, I do think it's xenophobic. Well, America's weird because America is a propositional nation, unlike a lot of other nations like China, Russia, Japan, etc. But when it comes to like xenophobia, I did think it was kind of xenophobic when after like on the heels of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, everyone was like, we need to get rid of all the Russians in America. They're all a threat.
Yep. Thank Buckeye Mike too for the gifted subs in chat.
That's xenophobic, yeah. Or the when people were like boycotting American Russian restaurants, this is xenophobic as well. It's ridiculous,
yes. Yeah. $10 from the Trib one. My point was to say that Lonerbox is well read on the topic. He's just not the only one, LOL. So many people are covering it rigorously. It's pretty easy to tell the extremists from people like Loner. Okay. $10 from Adam.
I don't think anyone's. Wait, has anyone accused Loner? I don't think anyone here considers Loner an extremist, right?
Your chat bot called that word. No one
else. I also got Uncle Ruckus as well. I got fucking Uncle Ruckus and
my now not mod anymore also has downplayed to Steven from Django, which is like the prototypical house N-word. So I don't know why he thinks that's less bad, but
okay.
Now it's all just a meme and a joke. Okay, good virtue signaling, guys.
Adam JRI says for $10, is it anti-Semitic to repeatedly conflate AIPAC lobbying, which is done by Americans, with their own interests, and, quote, Israel influence, end quote?
I don't think it's anti-Semitic to conflate them, especially because like AIPAC is specifically not what is best for America. It's what's best for Israel and Americans who are aligned with Israel, right? So like they were like a big opposition to the JCPOA, which was I think a really good deal, but Israel wasn't as happy with it. It's not anti-Semitic to say like these people. Might be anti-Semitic is the people who say they need to register with FARA, because to my knowledge there is no like.
I mean, he demodded him. Is that not significant in YouTube chat? I feel like for a lot of these streamers, their mods in YouTube chats are just kind of like memers. Like they just like kind of mod and demod people. They're not like a big part of the community. Like their Discords are more protected places.
Agent relationship between Israel and the people who lobby on behalf of Israel, because they just happen to be benefiting from the fact that there's a Jewish diaspora, there's a lot of American citizens, and the only reason that Qatar or the United Arab Emirates have to register with FARA is because there wasn't like a Emirati diaspora with a bunch of Emirati civilians in America who want to lobby on behalf of them, so they have foreign agents that take direction, and Israel does not direct AIPAC to my knowledge. So
fair. $10 from Matthew and a bunch of numbers. Boner Locks fan here. SoyPill is fair and honest, even when he's wrong. Just had to say that. Counter the Loner fans who are dumb enough to think SoyPill is hiding his power level or something.
Wow.
Boner Locks is a good one. I like that. Sure. And Locks, very Jewish. So you win points there.
That's freaking epic.
Oh man, $5 from another American. You're okay. I could already tell this is more than a $5 answer. What do you think a long-term solution in Gaza looks like? Wicked Loner.
Solve Israel-Palestine now.
For $5? Okay. Honestly, look, I'm gonna be real with you, and maybe this is a hot take. They're just gonna keep killing each other. They need a third party needs to come in and sit on both sides and just like sit on them And I don't think anyone's willing to do that. And because no one's willing to do that, Hamas is going to continuously give, Hamas or some other entity is going to continuously give Israel justification to go to war with them, and they're going to continue to shoot each other until one side is gone. And yeah, that's my thought. I don't know, man. What about you, Loner?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Like, the problem is that it's for all of the, and I've said this to SoyPill before as well, even if he disagrees, the fact, like, for all of how popular the pro-Palestine movement got is what the fuck did it actually achieve for Palestinians? It seems like it just became a social movement that purely tests how much you hate Israel. And even the countries that went to condemning Israel, like, some of them stopped like a few arms sales that were kind of like in regards to the Israeli war effort. Most of them just did nothing. They just did rhetoric, and people were actually quite satisfied by that. The best example was Mamdani, right? Mamdani drums up so much like a frenzy by saying, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu. And people love that. But then he comes in and says, well, I looked into it. Turns out the New York can't actually arrest Netanyahu. I think Trump should do it. Yeah, and he says, I think Trump should do it. The guy who's never going to do it. And then the comment section is just full of, wow, so brave. I can't believe you said that. Wow, no one else occurs. What? He's saying fucking nothing. He's memeing for support. It's so fucking stupid.
Should lock Netanyahu in Rikers and then close Rikers and let him go. That's what.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there could be another world. Like there could be a strong, principled Democratic Party in America that actually does hold Israel to task and stops them from being dragged down this fucking suicide like hellscape that is the Israeli right wing and the Israeli extreme right wing. And, you know, countries like fucking Turkey and Qatar could actually stop funding Hamas and stop supporting the, I don't know, this weird fucking fundamentalist victory that just seems indistinguishable from suicide. But the rest of the world just kind of sees it as a fucking playground, and nothing's going to change, unfortunately.
I would agree, Loner, on your assessment of like the movement. Well, first of all, I don't think a movement should be, judged based on like how much they accomplish necessarily. I mean, like if I bring up veganism again, great. Like vegans are not making more people vegan. Like it's like you look at the numbers over the past decades, it's like less than a percentage point of the population is changing. But I still think it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't criticize them for that necessarily, even if they got nothing done. But I would also say it seems like this year of any year, like these elections have shown that like they are starting to have more salience. I think the tides are finally shifting. More people are opposed to what Israel's doing, and that actually might be more to do with Israel just getting more blatant and flagrant under Trump. But I don't think they're useless. I think they've pushed the conversation. So.
I'm gonna
yeah, but they're not gonna achieve anything because they have no fucking idea what's happening. They might get your arms embargoed. That's not gonna change Israel's behavior.
I'm gonna speedrun these last ones because I really want to hear what.
Let's get this guy to call me anti-Semitic, right?
I'm gonna speedrun these. $5 from Natural Phenomenon. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Israel displaced them from north to south in order to not bomb them. Don't know if that thought was completed yet. Yep, that's fine. $5 from Bangarang. SoyPill. You understand Jewish need for a state, and then question later the need for it in the middle of heightened anti-Semitism around the world.
I don't think a state is necessary now, but this is irrelevant to whether or not I think Israel should exist because it does, right? It's not like it's like, oh well, we're fine now. Okay, Jews go home. Like go home where? Like fucking live in Israel. Like
Nick Costanza for $2. Only leftists are allowed to be mean online. Okay. $5 from Curiously Based. SoyPill is cringe. All caps.
Is this, are we basically done with the
for $5. SoyPill giggling
debate?
at racist remarks coming from the chat.
You got me. I think racism is hilarious. You fucking got me.
Behold everyone.
Well, I mean,
white privilege. Also Slava Ukrainian. Well, yes, true. Slava Ukrainian. I think we all laughed at that though. I think even Lonerbox was kind of laughing.
Calling Lonerbox a house N-word is so absurd that it is funny. Like I didn't even realize like that was because you're Arabic. Like I was just like
fuck. Wake message too. I don't think Lonerbox was actually laughing at it. Like I don't think it's funny. I think it's really, really, really fucking weird how permissible it is to be like. I think it's like I'm not laughing at the. I mean, I guess I have to because I joke about like the Gusano shit, but I don't think that that's funny either. I think it's really fucking weird. The first time in my entire life I ever get fucking racist attacks, which I didn't even know was possible as a base white dude, is from these weirdo cringe fucking lefty communities. I think that's incredibly fucking strange. And then the fact that he bolstered that with a story about being harassed because of 9/11 related stuff. Yeah, I don't think Loner was. I don't think it was a joke to him.
It's like what?
In my black guy defense, I also laughed.
Okay.
Also, I do know this not mod anymore from he helped me set up a TF2 server. He is black, so.
€2.
Dude, I can't, dude. I have to leave the white people behind. I'm sorry, bro. We need to bring back the old woke stuff. Holy shit, we gotta go back. We need to discover them. Where are our DEI affirmative action kings? we gotta get our way back from here. Jesus.
From DT.
Well, black people can be retarded as well, right?
Propeller head triggers Zio's online perfection. $5 from Kitten Stew. Why is Soy's #1 chatter giving examples of slurs they wish they could call Loner if he was black? $5 for
weird.
Soy from Super Duper Scooper. Have you read As a Jew by Sarah Hurwitz and or Dara Horn's book? That YouTube system won't let me type because of the provocative title.
I have not.
Okay, me neither. $5 from Aliceness. Cherry Pepsi is a war crime. Had no idea drinking Robitussin flavored worst Coke was acceptable in 2026. I'm out of Coke, okay? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Look, I'm out. And so until I get more, this is what I got. $2 for Ref Tops. To be clear, I said anti-Israeli, not anti-Israel. Okay. $5 from Neiman Nobody at Loner. Do you think Soy is a stalking horse for Hassanoids, or does he just approach these topics with low intellectual rigor?
Is that the only two options? Yeah, I think he approaches this topic with low intellectual rigor.
So the second one's more accurate, right?
Yeah, and I don't think he's a stalking horse for Hassan.
What's a stalking horse? Is that a thing? Is this like a Trojan horse?
I think he's
like,
a Trojan horse.
I think in politics, didn't they just use it for like a party, just like feeling a candidate to just stand in a seat that they know they're going to lose, but they just throw this person in anyway because like as fodder? But that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I think he meant short Trojan horse. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe.
$2 from Bangarang. Lonerbox. Matau is going to debate your buddy History Speaks.
I'd probably I'd probably side with History Speaks in that debate, even though he's a fucking moron. But yeah.
$5 from Mini Mom Donnie. Calling Palestinians Hamas is a dog whistle for Islamophobia. Mom Donnie is super duper scary though. Okay.
That's incoherent ideology there.
Sure. $5 from King Wanted. Does Soy think Lonerbox does genocide apologia? That's what his other mod says.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's a genocide?
Nope.
Then yes, I guess. Yeah. This definitionally.
Like, that's how easy it is to do. You describe this genocide apologia. How do you get to anti-Semitism though? You have to have like an international commission bringing every single fucking tweet and stated thing and all their beliefs and all their mind state. Like, oh my god.
At the very least, yeah.
Damn.
At the very
Susie
least,
Max,
if not
thank you for
outright
the
genocide
membership.
support. Okay.
Appreciate you. Okay, with that.
And like, imagine having the confidence to say that without even knowing anything about what goes on in any of these places. Like, he clearly has no concept at all about anything that's happening. But he.
Bring on the accuser. Okay.
Do we know who this is?
Mendel.
He's got a Larry David profile picture. This got to be a troll. Come on.
No, he's been on my show before. He's pretty serious. He hasn't told me yet, at least. It could be a long con.
Wait, my name is Troll, you're saying, in the picture?
No, it's just like someone with a Larry David profile picture coming in and calling me anti-Semitic. Like that sounds like the setup for like a troll or like a prank.
Oh no, this has been my profile picture for years, and Mendel was my character in WoW when I was 15 years old in 2004.
Uh-oh. That's
okay.
right.
So
Well,
you have strong words for SoyPill in my DMs.
It's okay. We're fine.
And if you're accusing me of anti-Semitism, you can't use as an example me going on Temple 1 at the end, putting on a hat, and saying I am anti-Semitic right into the camera.
Epic.
Of course not. No. So first of all, I'm not going to try to describe what's in your heart of hearts, because as Wicked said, that is idiotic and honestly irrelevant. And I don't think you're a rabid anti-Semite in the sense of like, hey, Jewish people, I think you're Jewish, aren't you?
I am Jewish, but basically in name only. Ben Shapiro would call me a guy now.
Yeah, that's fuck Ben Shapiro. So I wanted to start. I don't know. My thoughts are derailed, but here's what I'd say. I'd start with this question. I think it is anti-Semitic to
wait, hold on.
ascribe intention.
Right, you should start with this question. I think it's on my end. Sorry. Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That was just I had to like interrupt to reset the audio or something.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You ascribe the intention of members of the Israeli military, for example, and other things like that as genocidal. And I'll try to bring it back to that argument, but I'm trying to find out. This is something you two said earlier in the conversation. Am I correct in repeating that?
Yes, but I don't have all the receipts in front of me now, so I'd have to go back and find all these Reuters articles I read about. Like,
I'm not sure how familiar you are
statements from the government. Well,
I don't know how familiar you are with the Israeli protocols when it comes to these things, so I'm just going to give you a rundown from my perspective. I have multiple family members, including my sister, who were in Gaza. My sister was an artillery officer in the Israeli military back in the 2010s, and her reserve duty back in 2023, she was called in for reserve duty, and she was, in those bunkers that were shooting the rockets that were, killing a lot of people, doing this stuff. She was in those rooms, right? And so you're ascribing to my sister, someone who I've known my entire life, who was just a gentle young soul who works in the music industry in Israel. She did her reserve duty, as genocidal intent, right? And I think
I didn't say every single member of the IDF has genocidal intent. I said there's genocidal intent from people within the IDF, and then I talked about how
my sister's job was she was the final call. She was the person who worked in the artillery divisions that put into the guidance computers the locations of the things that they were locations of rockets that were being fired, right? That was her job. So she was the person doing that. So you're saying that either her or someone in her chain of command had specific genocidal intent.
I don't know about your sister's specific circumstances, and especially if she wasn't doing this post October 7th, it's almost definitely like she probably wasn't. So no, I'm not saying this about your sister.
No, she was. That's what I'm saying, and I'm saying that you did say this earlier in the conversation. So I'm trying to point out.
Right, and then hold on, let me clarify too, because this might be she might have participated in one of these stories that I've seen that I would classify as a war crime, where like you read these Reuters articles where it's they shot at people, they said they saw a camera or a weapon that was a camera, or they misinterpreted, and then they double tapped when like medical services had come, and it's like, this is a clear war crime, this is targeting civilians. If your sister participated in that, then I would say that even if she was not the one who gave this order, if the chain of command somehow had someone saying, yep, go ahead and double tap that, even if it was an accident, this is still a war crime. And yeah, your sister participated in it, but I don't know what she did. Like,
if you're thinking about the double tap on the hospital stairwell, the outdoor stairwell, right?
That might be the one I remember. Yeah,
because Islamic Jihad claimed at least 3 of those dead ones a month ago. I'm sorry. It just keeps happening. I don't know what you do.
And how many
I think that's the one.
Jihad, and how many of them were civilians?
Let me double check.
I don't want to bring it back to this.
Okay, just before, Social Society has to go. Give your outro, and you can head out. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah, no, I was going to say thank you. Nice to meet you, Loner. Nice to meet you, Soy. Won't derail this too much. I appreciate the opportunity. It was a great conversation. I also thank you to Wix Chat for not leaving me any mean super chats. They all went to Soy. So also thanks for being the punching bag for me, I guess, Soy.
Got it, no problem.
Thanks for being here, buddy. We'll have you on again sometime. I'll see you later.
See you guys.
Okay. So first of all, if it was an accident, it can't be genocidal intent, right?
Yeah, then if it was a complete accident, yeah, but it would still be like a war crime of like, right?
Perhaps,
like if you're like this negligent with like your
So it'd be a war.
I'm not going to debate that point. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I think that I'm not trying to make that point either. I'm trying to, or whether it was or wasn't a war crime, or what I'm trying to say is that there's this notion that we try to take and assign intention to these complicated and large-scale military operations, and we try to look at them through the lens of morality and all this other stuff. And the point I'm trying to make is that is inherently, in the context of anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, and I'll explain why I think that. It's very simple, right? We wouldn't apply that standard to anyone else, right? That's number one. Number two, even if we did apply that standard, we would take the time to do the due diligence and the work that's required to figure out these things, which is going to take time in the future. And the second point I would say, and the third point I would say, is that we would also assign a time frame to all of this stuff. The notion that there's this endless genocide that's happening, and the usage of this word, that is what's inherently anti-Semitic. This wide-scale assigning of intention across a large scale of time to a large number of people with no understanding of the complexity or no recognition of the complexity of the issues, inherently shows a discrimination against those people, an assumption that there's an evil there, that there's immorality, that there's some lack of care or hatred towards Palestinians without any evidence of making such a claim. And that is bigotry against a large number of Jewish people. And many of them are not Israeli Jews, right? Many of them are Americans, many of them are Europeans, Brits, other people like that. And that is anti-Semitism in my view.
So, I mean, I was someone who at the beginning of this didn't even think it was a genocide, because I was thinking of it in the colloquial sense of genocide requires this like person or government or like, you know, person in the government to be like, all right, let's go and let's wipe out this population, right? And that didn't seem to be what was happening. And then as these organizations come out and say these claims based on the way people are dying, the policies top down, the statements from the people in government, like this evidence that you're claiming doesn't exist, like I'm like, okay, it seems like these people have this grasp, Loner disputes that. Regardless, like I'm basing it off of what they're saying. I'm not saying like just for no reason, like there's no other answer to this but genocide, because there could be other answers. There, you've heard them in this conversation. You have them, Loner has them. It's, hey, it's because of the complications of where Hamas is entrenched. It's because of the weapons they're using. It's because of the policies that Hamas does. Like there are other explanations to this, and I'm not saying it's genocide just because of the consequence. It's like I'm listening to what the orgs are saying, so I don't think that's anti-Semitic. If they are specifically going off of like, if every source for these orgs was like, I don't know, like the fucking God, not the Epoch Times. What's the like the Storm Uptime? Not the Storm Uptime. What's the fucking racist magazine? You know what I'm talking? Stormfront. Thank you. Yeah, if it was like Stormfront, I'd be like, yeah, maybe these claims are anti-Semitic. But I don't think that just saying that the intention is there based on statements made, based on policies, based on the consequences of said policies is anti-Semitic. No, I just don't buy that.
How do you feel about the? Sorry, wait. How do you feel about?
Loner, go ahead.
How do you feel about the fact that Amnesty, for ascribing genocide to Israel, in their report they say that the current case law and the current understanding of genocidal intent is not good, that it needs to be broadened? As in, like they want to change the definition to
make it easier to call it genocide.
Yeah, but they said that they're not satisfied with the way the current case law is. And two more pieces of information.
Before we move on that, okay, like I guess I don't know if it's too broad or I'm not a fucking genocide expert. I have no real.
Yeah, okay, so maybe they.
But he sure did know enough to say earlier that that Lonerbox is a genocide apologist. Kind of weird.
Maybe they genuinely have a problem with the case law. It's fine. There's not that much case law for genocide. Second of all, though, they didn't call October 7th a genocide, and they also delayed the report until actually after the Israel one, specifically because they thought that if they did a report on October 7th early, it would give ammunition to Israel to carry out attacks on Gaza, as in like they had a political reason for doing so. Third thing that they did was that when the Israel branch of Amnesty International, the one that actually sticks their neck out to fight with the Israeli government all the time in Israel about this war, who does think it's war crime, genocide, they were removed. Amnesty just ditched them. They ditched their Israel branch, even though this branch actually...
That's like the one branch that went against them, right? Like of all of them.
Yeah. So they've been there. They've been the branch that was also fighting with. Yeah. So those three acts, I think, are just like it. Just kind of sounds like you want to treat Israel a bit differently from other groups in other countries.
I'm not even unsympathetic to that as an idea. The second one, I can understand being like, hey, if we release this as fast as we do, this might cause them to be more genocidal. I don't know how you weigh that as this internal organization. Also, I don't know if October 7th in and of itself, I guess it's a genocidal act. Also, obviously, Hamas is like, we want to exterminate the Jews. I guess they removed that from the charter recently, but that means nothing to me. But like, is the act itself, like, did they try to do that? Or were they trying to, is it part of a greater genocidal intent? I don't know how you categorize these. Again, I'm not a genocide expert. For the third one, that could just as easily be like, well, you aren't meeting our standards or whatever. But then regardless of all that, let's just take it all at face value and say like, these people are biased against Israel. Amnesty International is. Then every other org is too, ICC and Human Rights Watch, like they're all like the same amount. Like that's what I find very hard to believe.
The UN Commission of Inquiry, for the one that does like most of the highest profile legal assessments in Israel, is chaired by three people. One of them went on a podcast and complained about what he literally quoting Jewish control of social media. And the other two chairs defended him.
Do they control it?
For saying that this wasn't an issue. Like they want to complain that people are just throwing around anti-Semitism claims like it's throwing rice at a wedding or something. Yeah. Okay. One more question. In 2022 or 21 or even pre-October 7th, there's been kind of this trend where the UN General Assembly will table resolutions against particular countries for human rights abuse. They'll do like North Korea, Iran, China. Israel has this trend of getting more resolutions against them than every other country. Even on the year that Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Israel still gets more UN resolutions against them by far. Why? What does that make you feel?
Obviously, so the problem with all of these things you're bringing up is all of these things could indicate what you're pointing to, which is like maybe there's undue bias against Israel. I would have to look more into this, but to me, I would have to now have this complete set of like debunking, counterfactuals to every single org that is calling this out. I'm still a little incredulous that like literally every org is like. Tell me if this is wrong. Or is the claim that all of these orgs are so biased against Israel that they're basically lying because they?
No, I don't think they're. So there's like two explanations. One is that because of the way that Hamas have operated, controlled Gaza for the last 17 years, they have just. It's actually kind of astonishing. Just like if you look at Hamas's behavior, they understand human rights orgs very well as well, and the human rights orgs, all of them have to work with Hamas just so they can function to distribute aid and things like that. So I think Hamas have like very well manipulated the situation in Gaza, and they control the situation well enough
Jesus.
citizens say and everything else. They know how these orgs work. They know what they can get away with, and they know like around them or like which buildings they need to be in to make it like look worse when they get bombed and all that. They know it's perfidy. They do that all the time. They understand how that works, and even if you are approaching it in completely good faith, they can still basically influence the situation to make it look like it's just civilians dying. Like if you understand how these orgs gather information and how it's not difficult.
I changed my mind. I'm against Lonerbox. I don't care what his argument is. Whatever his argument is, I'm completely 100. I think he's a genocide supporter. This mic is genocide.
For a group like Hamas to just withhold your losses, just make sure that no one says anything, to make sure there's enough of a repression.
Just to be clear,
yeah, they can. That's one. That's
you're
one
cutting out sometimes. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I thought it was just me.
No,
Can I add to
but
that real quick?
every 20 words, you'll cut out one word. Right.
Right.
Can I add one thing to that real quick?
Just real quick.
I don't know about the bias.
Then then SoyPill gets a chance to respond. And SoyPill, I want you to like. Are you going to look into this stuff, right? Because this is good information. Right?
Someone could give me like a Google Doc on it, but again, this is like this smells like conspiracy. We just do that. Like,
the other thing is as well when we talk about conspiracy. So that first one was me talking about how Hamas can fuck things, can actually like mess up reports like this and influence them, even if every human rights worker is being completely good faith. We know this happened, by the way. Saddam Hussein did this in Iraq during the sanction regime after the Kuwait War. We know that Saddam Hussein and his regime influenced people to give false information to aid workers who were trying to assess the effect of the sanctions. And it got people to conclude, with a few bad interviews with a few people who were intimidated by the government, to make it look like there was a famine happening in Iraq that killed over 500,000 people. UNICEF said this, and when the human rights orgs actually finally got access to Iraqi documents after the war in 2003, they knew it turned out that it was false. It turned out the life expectancy hadn't actually all that much. But then they didn't say we were wrong in the past. They just changed their data. So right now, when you look at UNICEF, which was the main organization that pushed it, their life expectancy graph for Iraq is just 90s. It just goes up normally like any other country. But yes, Saddam Hussein and his regime in Iraq managed to convince the entire world of human rights orgs that there was a famine that killed 500,000 people. And it lasted for almost like a decade. And this is, no one disputes this. No one disputes that this happened. But yeah, for some reason, like even your chat, like it's really funny. They have nothing. They don't know how to respond to this. But yeah, I don't know. Here's what it is.
Well, my response would be like, is it possible to fool literally every independent human rights organization if what you're claiming is true? Maybe, apparently. Do I believe that this is the case? I haven't seen enough evidence to believe that literally all of them are wrong. And
I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence.
I literally know nothing. Example, did they allow journalists in like here, like were there more independent ways to verify this? Was the methodology like checked? Like how is this like so easily?
Are you saying that Saddam Hussein? What, are you claiming that he didn't let journalists in to investigate in his country? Really? Good old Saddam?
Had the wool pulling over all of their eyes.
Well, the problem is that they were independent researchers. They were talking to, but the way that they do this and the way that they assess what was happening in these households was by talking to families. They would go into households and they would ask questions about like the history of, like how many infants like in the family under 5. And people to like take. Sorry, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Yeah, they would ask questions about. They would ask questions about the family and things like that. So they did this. Like I don't know. Even independent journalists can go and talk to families and all that. But it depends on who's influencing the family. And the families have a choice. It's like, do I tell the truth to this international human rights org, or do I and upset my government, Saddam Hussein, who's not across them, or do you not? So yeah, if you're in a closed society, and human rights orgs sometimes only have the civilians to rely on.
When I scream about
it,
it feels good.
But we can go for it. Like if you want to talk about the UN in general, like what is the UN? Like the general. It's just countries voting on things.
It is.
Like, I don't know. I don't think to prove a conspiracy to say it's kind of weird that the UN passed a resolution in the 80s saying that resistance movements in Palestine have the right to resist by any means necessary. Any means. Like, as what? They can just break international. And this is a General Assembly resolution. I don't think it's international law. It's not, but it's a General Assembly. It's a UN resolution. But if you just look at the list of the countries that voted for it, they're all dictatorships mostly. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's so surprising to people to think that if these international
people don't really know how the UN works at all. That's why. I'm sure Loner knows that, but.
Organizations, they have contributors from all over the world. Do people think that most of the world just stopped being anti-Semitic after World War II? Of course they didn't. Of course they have bias. Of course we have like large. And look at the region Israel's in. It isn't like a prevalent issue in the neighboring countries or in the fact that you've got like fucking Malaysia that won't let people fly to Israel like, because of the.
Can I add the one thing to that? Because I was going to add exactly to that point.
Hold on, buddy.
It's similar to the House of Representatives, right?
Hey, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
We love you, buddy. SoyPill needs a chance to talk.
Give him a chance.
Yeah, basically, like this idea that these orgs can be lied to is not lost on me. Obviously, people could fudge numbers, civilians could lie, but like I'm curious. I mean, we talked about like double standards of scrutiny. Like, do you hold every single Rights Watch, report to this level? Every single UN report, every single like war crime analysis? Like, it seems very specific to this. And if you don't, or if you do, then like, how do you trust anything? If hey, every single independent organization meant for the charity of human civilization is able to be fooled so easily that any country with like significant control of their civilians, whether that be Al Qaeda or ISIS or Assad, Saddam Hussein, all of them can just manipulate it. So we should just never listen to them ever.
Yes! That's why for a lot of these countries, you don't know about all the horrible crimes that happen until after the regimes fall. Yes! This is actually the most normal thing on the planet. That it's incredibly difficult to get solid information about the fucked up shit that goes on in place until after the regime falls. Believe it or not, that's the most normal thing ever.
They're completely useless, and like I
don't know. Like the thing is, like you're kind of
posing conflict or saying, like I don't know how you judge anything then at that point.
You're kind of jumping to a question that's obviously like I'm not saying I have an answer for why this happens, but the problem is I can't even get people to admit that there is a problem. I don't know how I can do this. I don't know how I can like if I show you right now that Oxfam said 70% of the injuries and deaths were women and children, and then I show you the health ministry literally saying that's not the case. I can show you exactly the date where the UN stopped using those numbers 2 years ago, but Oxfam still feel like it's reasonable to use it like in the last month. Then the fact that I can show you
if Hamas is saying that's not true, it's like, okay, well, this human rights org is not being manipulated by Hamas. They're literally going.
The funny thing is, and it's so fucking annoying, is that sometimes like some of these human rights orgs will make statements that like even Hamas won't make. Like Hamas is not shy about using human shields. Hamas is not shy about their citizens have an obligation to stay and defend and remain in areas to like they'll just say it. So like sometimes these international orgs, they'll make arguments that, like even Hamas isn't making about themselves. Like they would never use human shields. They're like, of course we do. What do you mean? All of our citizens are part of our jihad against fucking Israel or whatever. It's like, okay.
Against them, sure, like that would be evidence that they're using it poorly, sure, but like
yeah, but we can, if you want to have like a couple of hours struggle session of just going through all the examples of orgs doing this, I would happily do it. With so far,
I want to do a lot more research, but yeah,
he doesn't give a fuck.
And I can show you, I can show you every source, and we can say, well, here's what.
Let's set it up. We're going to give you a whole 2 weeks to prep for this, SoyPill, because this is why I think this would be useful. Because all the time we come into these debates, we give you information or we get information from someone or from you, and no one, it just dies there, right? It's left on the floor. No one changes their opinion. No one looks into things. No one researches anything. No one looks for counterclaims. We just move on. And this is such, I guess, a recurring topic, right? That we constantly have to go over these same basic stuff. It might be helpful in a couple weeks, right? Maybe you need more time, 3 weeks or something, to have like a redo where, again, Lonerbox, get a list of things that you think he should look into, give it to SoyPill. He can take the time to look into it, then we can reconvene and have that conversation. What are you thinking?
You want me to give SoyPill material to read?
Yes.
I mean, he seems to know the reports, right?
Well,
yeah, if you want to give me like these are these reasons I don't believe it's true. Like if you want to send it all to me and we can redo it and go through it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can help you really quickly. Like once you've read 1 or 2 of these reports, you've kind of read all of them because again, they're drawing from the same pool of information. Yep. So it's like, but if you want to look at issues of like, if you watch the way the discourse developed on how many aid trucks are required for Gazans to be above the humanitarian.
Look at the discourse on the 50 beheaded babies thing. This was a thing that was echoed by it was like a French reporter or something, and I think the Israeli military spokespeople, they came out and they tried to correct that within like a few hours, I think. But everybody accuses Israel of spreading that meme and trying to get everybody to believe in the beheaded babies thing. And that wasn't even Israel that had initially spread that. It was apparently somebody heard a soldier say something about that. I don't know if it was the 40 number, but like it just like the Israel press was never pushing this. But everybody brings up that meme. Like 40 beheaded babies. Oh, so like 40 beheaded babies, right? And I was like, that was never like a big Israel statement.
Threshold for aid? That's a really good question, and you can watch how. And then the other question is how many actually went in. That's a simple question. Another simple question is what's actually the distribution demographically.
Well, I'm not going to remember this. So if you want, if you could DM me, I'm sure you have like a notes page on this. That'd be great, and we could set up something in a couple of weeks.
Sure. Yeah. Also, I will say I'm not saying these reports are useless. Like there are reports that I've read that actually like, and you're welcome to come on and tell me where I denied the body count. But okay.
Whoa!
Which one? The 700,000 one or the 70,000 one?
Talk in, jump backstage. I'll pull you in, and you can expose Lonerbox, Zogbox, right? As the Mossad agent that he is. Happy to have you.
I like Lonerbox the best.
Lonerbox is.
Can I add one thing though? Just because I don't think I made my case properly.
We're gonna shuffle you.
Yeah. No, I gotta go also. I just want to scroll back two points. One is you should look into the UN as, if you look at the UN a little bit like the House of Representatives, there's a lot of countries that are represented, a lot of countries share certain faces. There could be an imbalance in the way the voting works, but that's just inherent systemic bias. Whatever. My point was, when you earlier talked about all the evidence of the claims, and the reason why I was saying I think you're practicing anti-Semitism, maybe not anti-Semitic, but practicing in it, is because you're using people's statements as evidence of a wider conspiracy, even if these are high-level people in the government. This is not official policy, and you don't have evidence relating to specific actions that are military actions, which is what would be required. And by ascribing, be required to even claim war crimes, which I actually do agree there are many. I just think that jump and that leap is what's anti-Semitic. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making my case. Sorry. Thank you.
I understand. I don't think that jump is insanely anti-Semitic if like the people in charge of dictating policy are saying genocidal things. I mean, if Donald Trump says like, here's the thing, Trump's Muslim ban was not a ban on Muslims, but he said he wanted to ban all Muslims. His intent was an incredibly Islamophobic thing. And then he does something that's like, okay, if I look up this on paper, he has done nothing to specifically ban Muslims. He's even banned countries that are not predominantly Muslim. Is he Islamophobic? And the answer is fucking yes. I looked at the statements. That was the intent, and this is what he could get done. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to jump from, okay, this is their stated intent, and this is how they're implementing it, and say this is probably related. But you do have to draw that connection. You have to show that it's trying to accomplish what they're saying they're trying to accomplish, if their statements are to be taken at face value. But I don't think the jump is necessarily anti-Semitic.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, gang. If Lycan's not coming in, I think we're done. I'm done. Gang, if you enjoyed this chat, if you enjoyed this content, if you liked what we had to say, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, throw your money my way because I love money. Oh, did you read it? Did I forget Super Chat?
Does Lycan jump in or
Super
no?
Duper Scooper for $5. Can Soy explain a bit more about what he means by Jewish in name only? Is he Jewish or not?
I am. My mother's Jewish. So to the extent of which I was Jewish, we celebrated Hanukkah, and I never had a bar mitzvah. I don't read Hebrew. I didn't do the Torah. My great grandpa was very upset of how not Jewish I was. So I basically the typical American secular Jew who is ethnically Jewish. I'm Ashkenazi, and then that's it. I don't do anything else. I could go on birthright, but I didn't. That's how Jewish I am.
$5 from Bremen. Loner genocided SoyPill in this debate.
Wow.
I deny these claims. I believe it was a war of aggression.
Did he have intent? That's the question. Okay. Lonerbox, last word. Where can people find you? And then SoyPill, last word. Where can people find you? Lonerbox first. Go ahead.
You can find me at Lonerbox or Lonerbox Live, bro.
Check him out. Final thoughts?
And you can find me. Oh,
that's fine.
Okay. SoyPill.
Find me at SoyPill. A new video just came out a couple hours ago, and I'm selling little sweet plushies. Go buy one.
Where can people get it if they wanted a plushie?
In my description at plusforge.ch/projects/soy-pill-chibi. Oh god, just go click on my fucking video.
Okay, click on his video. Hopefully there's a link there. I saw a link on Twitter too, so if you follow him on Twitter, you can find there. Thank you both for coming, and I'm serious about in 2 weeks having another discussion.
Let's make it happen.
What people learn. Okay, I'll talk to you guys.
Are
later.
you serious about me getting you?
No, seriously. I want to no. I mean, I can do your Oppo research, so I can counter it.
Why don't you just wait? Nah, you were signing a whole bunch of reports. Go read them and bring them. You're
if you don't want to, but it's specifically we are on the same page of what we'll cover. But we don't have to.
I'm probably not going to argue with 100% of it. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of work on Summit in Gaza, but as far as the broader claims and the more extreme ones, then we can see. There's nothing wrong with agreeing on this as well.
I'm streaming a lot more now, so I'm committed. Very few bow outs will be happening now because I'm so locked in.
Also, if any of these fucking dribbling retards in your chat, SoyPill, want to come and actually talk to me about all these reports that I've read and that you guys haven't, you are more than welcome.
You hear that calling him a house N-word?
That's it. Hold on. SoyPill, look, I get it. Chatters are crazy. You can't control chat. They're gonna say unhinged shit.
I will call out when they're saying unhinged shit specifically about Loner. If they want to disagree with them, that's allowed. If it's TOS, it's allowed. But yeah.
So specifically, my chat, don't call. Someone was saying, is SoyPill, is it okay to call a SoyPill a house Jew? No, it's not.
Jesus.
It's not. And I told him to cut that shit out. So, SoyPill's chat, do not call people house N-words. Don't call Lonerbox house N-words. Do not do that. You are fucking weird for doing that. Anyway, whatever. What do I got coming up? Tomorrow I'm taking off because fuck you guys. Friday, I have a debate with Mr. Dragonfist on, what was the topic? Hold on. He had to change it. He says, the topic is American Christians would benefit more from Democratic leaders than from Republican. And I say, yes, they would. He disagrees. We're going to have a debate on it. It should be fun. Check us out Friday. It'll be fun. And then next week, I got a conversation on Tuesday with PF Young. And then I'm also talking to another gentleman, but the day and time, we're going to get it to you. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Wait, bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Now that's what I call...